Tonight, I'm going to teach you how to do great job interviews for your bounce house business. I think you guys will agree with me when I say that building a strong team is a very tough task. And by you, quote unquote, just giving them a shot, it's not a very effective way to figure out who's going to be a great worker and who's going to be kind of a loser. So you, my friend, need to learn to do some job interviews. So tonight, I'm going to teach you just that, okay? All of my job interview knowledge, tips, tricks, techniques, all that good stuff so you can hire people to help scale your business faster. What's up, everybody? My name is Nick Glassett. Welcome to the greatest business show on the internet. It is Booze and Biz. Cheers! So I want to know what you guys are drinking this evening. So this is Booze and Biz. Of course, I'm going to peer pressure you a little bit to have some beer, some wine, some tequila, but Diet Pepsi is cool too. But let me know in the comments. I want to know two things tonight. I want to know two different things tonight. Number one, where are you guys watching from? So let me see some city pride. Let me see where you guys are from. And then I also want to know what you are drinking tonight. I'm sticking with the tequila. It's been treating me good, so I'm going tequila tonight. Last week I had one too many tequilas. I had one too many. I know this for a fact. All right. For those of you watching on YouTube and those of you listening on the podcast, please do me a favor, hit the hell out of that subscribe button and let's get rolling so we can teach you guys how to do some great job interviews. So to kick it off here, I'm going to kind of do like a little bit of a foreshadowing. I'm going to tell you that I was obsessed with doing job interviews for, I calculated today, roughly 7 years of my old corporate job, 7 entire years, utterly obsessed with doing job interviews. And here is why. The better I got at doing job interviews, the more amazing my workers became. So naturally, I could not stop chasing doing better interviews. I have personally done, I wish I knew the real number, over 1,000 job interviews in my life, easy. And in every single one of those interviews, I was either making a hiring decision to bring somebody onto my team directly or to bring them onto a team of somebody who I was mentoring. So I had skin in the game on every interview I've ever done, ever, okay? I'm also deeply passionate about the importance of interviewing when it comes to creating a strong team. Team building, the crux of team building, in my opinion, is good interviews, okay? It's my also opinion that you need to attack this activity with passion if you want good workers, period, end of story, all right? So let's jump into some of the tactics. So doing a great interview, it actually starts way before the applicant even meets you, okay? So to do a great interview, you have to, number one, know who you're looking for, okay? This tip is more about you than it is about the applicant. You've got to have your company's core values outlined in as much detail as possible. That way, you can gauge where the applicant lands on those 3 to 5 core things that matter the most to you as the owner, okay? If you do not have a set of written down core values, that's totally fine. You probably didn't know you needed them. However, you do now, so tomorrow you know what the first thing you should do is, right? Get your core values written down somewhere. I have them in 2 places in my cell phone, and then I have one little sloppy sheet where I wrote them down for the first time ever. It's ripped off of a notebook paper, and it's taped to my monitor at my office, right? Some examples of core values can be, this is one of mine. Don't debate, create, just go, okay? Another one I heard recently, conduct business with the highest integrity possible. Another one I heard today in a book I'm reading, be confident yet humble. You can have invest in those around you, finish hard to the end. There's practically endless list of things that you can have that are core value, okay? But these are the things that for you as the owner are so important that you only hire other human beings that also have them ingrained in their DNA naturally, okay? My companies all have 5 core values. I wish they had 3, but I'm not that, brevity is not my strong suit, right? So I have 5, okay? But I'm constantly measuring my employees against all 5 of them and then reacting appropriately, all right? I'm going to be covering core values, a whole ass episode in its own episode in the coming weeks because I'm going to do this team building topic as a 4-part series. So tonight we're going to do interviewing. I'm also going to do recruiting, core values, and training. Okay, we're going to all do those in a row. So over the next month, we're going to have team building all knocked out, right? But get your core values nailed down now so you can maybe then get them a little bit more refined when I go over it, hopefully next week. All right, on to tip number two. Tip number two is know that being your actual self in the interview is crucial, okay? So I have personally sat in on so many interviews where I'm grading the interviewer, not the applicant, and the amount of times the interviewer changes their personality completely and is like this robotic, like reading questions off the paper awkwardness would shock you. Okay. Yes, I was their boss and I was sitting next to them, but still, like, they're boring, they're stale, they had no life to them. Okay. When you're interviewing, okay, this is a huge part of doing a good interview. You need to be you the whole time. Okay. If you are a person that is confrontational and intense in the interview, be that. If you're a person that's nice and warm and friendly in the interview, be that. Why? Because it's important to figure out what the dynamics between you and the other applicant are going to be. Like, you need to interact as your real self, so they'll interact as their real self, and you'll see if there's anything happening there. All right. You also need to communicate with them like the regular you, because if you hire them, you want to make sure that you're honest so they know what they're getting themselves into. Okay. So in a job interview, me personally, I look just like this. I talk just like this. My mannerisms are just like this. It's literally, I'm this exact person. Okay. I, as an interviewer versus the rest of the universe, okay, I tend to be more fun and engaging. Okay. I definitely lean heavy on the inspirational because it's just who I am. Okay. And if I'm not paying very close attention, I will start teaching them all sorts of business shit in the interview, right? I have to be very careful. But in the interview, I come across very open and very easy to work with. Okay. But that's who I am. Like, I am my total and complete self, no matter who is sitting with me. Okay. So I'm going to give you the tip of how to set this up, right? How to be your actual self in an interview so you're comfortable doing this. As the interview begins, ask them to tell you about themselves, but not in a work related things. Like, you don't want to go over resume shit. You don't want to talk about old bosses, old jobs, whatever. You want to talk about them as a person. Okay. So the way I like to set that up is I literally just ask them, tell me a little about yourself. Okay. If they kind of are hesitant to start talking, then I'll say before they can say anything, and I'll just tell them, look, and leave the work stuff out. We're going to get to all of that later. I want to know about Joey, dude. Tell me about Joey. Like, who are you? Okay. What will happen is they'll open up and they'll actually start to tell you some stuff. And at this point, it's brand new. It's like the interview just started. They're super freaking nervous. This really takes the edge off when you interact with them that way, and then you give them a chance to just freaking talk about themselves and like to play soccer and they write Call of Duty, like whatever, dude. Okay. A lot of times it's kind of funny. They'll tell you their name again. Okay. They'll literally tell you their name again. And then they'll tell you their age. Like, they'll tell you how old they are. They'll tell you, I'm a senior in high school. I have 2 years left of college, right? That you'll get a lot of nuggets in there that you really did want to know, that by law you're not as allowed to ask how old they are, right? Okay, but this sets you up to interact with them as your regulars. Like, this creates the interview as a conversation, right? It also sets the rest of the interview up as a safe space where they're going to be comfortable and open with you to tell you the truth, because you're showing them that not only you care about them as a person, or I'm sorry, you care about them as a person, not just an employee, right? You're here to connect with a person. So be yourself, okay, and be calm. It's just an interview, right? I know they can be scary at first, but be yourself, be calm, get them to open up. Okay, on to tip number 3. Know what you're going to ask them. Okay, if you're gonna have a one-on-one, say this is fictional. If you're gonna have a one-on-one coaching session with B, you would not just show up to said coaching situation and just sit there awkwardly asking shit off the top of your head. Okay, you'd have notes. You would have pre-written questions. Well, guess what? The girl that you're about to interview is the person that's going to be interacting with your clients. There is nobody on the face of the planet from a business sense, more important than them, I don't care. Okay. They are the most important person to you because they touch your clients. Okay. What are the questions you can ask to get answers of whether or not they align to those core values of yours? You have those core values, you need to ask questions that get to the root of those. Okay. This also helps you be relaxed and stay on task. Okay. Me personally, I've been asking a version of the same questions for a freaking decade. So when I interview, I don't have anything. Right? Everything's just in my head. All right. It's all conversational and I already know what I'm going to ask. Okay. You should have a set of questions on a piece of paper. I highly suggest you type these out in Microsoft Word and click print so you have them in the interview. They're just going to sit nice in front of you so you can reference them. All right. On to tip number 3, know how to shut up and listen. Okay. The interview is for you because you are the business owner. You're doing an interview for your business, but you do not need to know if you align to your own core values. You need to know if they align to your core values. Okay. So here we go. I'm going to give you the literal 4 steps to doing great interviews. Super simple. It's 4 steps. Please write this down because this will change your whole freaking life. 4 steps to doing great interviews. Step number 1, ask question. Step number 2, listen. Okay, here's where it gets good. Step number 3, ask question. Step number 4, listen. That's right. That's all it is. Ask question, listen. Boom. 4 steps to doing great interviews. Okay. If you talk too much in your interviews, you're only going to end up doing great interviews because you essentially did an interview with yourself and you know exactly what to say because you own the business. So shut up and let them talk. Here's a great freaking interview tip for you. Silence is your greatest weapon in your search for the truth. Okay. When the interview gets awkward, remember that it's their interview. So it's their awkwardness, not yours. Just let it be awkward. They will start filling the space with all sorts of crazy things that you can't believe they're saying in an interview. Okay. Tip number 4. Here's the actual one secret weapon. I've been using this sucker for years, and it is the absolute laser pointed secret weapon. And I'm not being a smartass on this one. Okay. This actually is the true secret weapon to interviewing. Okay. It's a tactic that I have named tell me a story. That means you don't just ask any old question. You ask questions that have the purpose of finding if they align to their core values, right? But you don't just let them answer with any old bullshit, because if you do, that's what you're going to get is bullshit. They're going to make some stuff up and they're going to tell you what you want to hear. Instead, you make them answer in the form of a story. Okay, here's how you set that up. You tell them, and I quote, I want you to do me a favor, all right? And this is kind of weird, but I want you to answer all my questions by telling me a story. Tell me stories. I want the real story of what happened and how it went down, and I want you to give me details, okay? They will usually look at you funny, okay. You need to keep talking at this point, though, because they're freaked out. They're freaked out. So you go on and you elaborate. You say, when you tell me your story, I want to know what color the customer's shirt was. I want to know everything the customer says. I want to know what time of day it was. Where were you when it happened? Was it raining outside? Just tell me the story. It's not that hard because it happened. Okay. You can take a second and you can think of your story. Like, no worries, no awkwardness. I know you got to think of a story before you can answer, but then just tell me the story. Give me the details of the time it actually happened. Okay. When they tell a story that makes sense, you can figure out very easily if they're aligning to the core values or not. Okay. When they break the rule, okay, this is a good little tip. So if they start to break the rule, you need to give them a little bit of space, right? So if they break the rule, it would sound like this. It would sound like this. Let's say you ask about a time they had to work with a difficult customer. They'll say something like, you know how customers can be, man. Like, they're upset all the time. Like, it's a restaurant, right? So I'm a server. I can't do anything right. But I always just try to smile and do everything I can to like make them happy. You know what I mean? But like, it's a restaurant. What am I going to do? So at that point, you say, okay, that's amazing, man. That's a pretty good attitude, but I need you to tell me a time you actually had like the angry customer. Like, who was it? What was wrong with their food? What did they order? Where were they sitting in the restaurant? Okay. At this point, they should be able to jog their memory and tell you a story. Okay. If they can't, that's scary. That's a good sign. You're doing a good interview if they can't. Okay. If they start another answer after that one, okay, so let's say they then tell you the real story. If they start another answer after that one and it's all generic again, you just interrupt them and go, dude, I'm gonna make you tell me the story. Like, I want the real story, right? So you're gonna want to keep them on point. All right. 65%, roughly, I made that up, of people will be able to just follow the rules and tell stories. Okay. But there's going to be a big set of people that you really have to keep on the rails in the beginning. They're going to try and get back to their normal ways of answering interview questions, and you don't want them to be normal. You want stories. Okay. It's okay. They've never done this. So be patient and kind of help them through that. Okay. When you get one, though, that is an amazing storyteller, the interview, like, you have to experience this, okay, in order for it to make sense. But the interview, like, blossoms, like, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And then all of a sudden, like, it's this conversation back and forth, and it's incredible. Okay. But I'm going to kind of have a negative caveat there. If you have one of those interviews, please hear my voice in your head, put on your bullshit filter a couple times. Okay. Yes, I have gone through those interviews. I have been fooled and I've hired a con man. It's happened to me more than one time. All right. Put your bullshit filter on. You'll be able to know. Your gut will know. Just don't be fooled. Okay. But tell me a story is your best freaking interview friend. I promise you, promise you, promise you. Okay. Secret weapon number 2. Okay. This is tip number 5. Secret weapon number 2. Don't write anything down. This is a conversation, not a lecture with your teacher with a test at the end. Okay. The conversation is taking place up here. The conversation is not taking place down here with a pencil. Okay. Look up and engage with them. Listen to them intently so you can play. This is key. Listen to them intently. So when they're telling a story, you're making a movie of it in your head. Okay. As they're talking, your brain is making the pictures in your head. When you get to a spot where your brain can't figure out what's happening, the movie stops making sense, you interrupt them and you ask for clarity. Okay. So wait, hold on, back up. Where were you when this conversation was taking place? Like, you guys are on the office, or like you're still out like by the customers, like by the tables. Okay. Or you're stocking shelves still at this point, or you're back in the stock room. Like, get that movie in your head nice and clear as they tell the story. All right. You cannot do a good job interview with your head down here writing. Okay. It's a conversation. Get your head up here. Okay. There is, however, 2 exceptions to this rule. Rule number 1 is they give you a great idea that you don't want to forget. So as they're talking, they say something, you just write it down in your notebook super fast. The good idea that they gave you. Okay. Exception number 2 of why you would write something down is they're telling a wonderful story that you don't want to interrupt because the question that you have doesn't pertain to the movie in your head. It's just a little question you don't want to forget. So you'll jot down a quick note so you don't forget that question, right? Both of those situations are rare. Think of how often you take notes during any other conversation with a human being. Never. So why would you take notes during this one? Okay, tip number 6. Know how to inspire and when to do it. Thank God, Nick, I do actually get to talk in this interview. Yes. Of course you do get to talk, okay? But not until the end. You need to shut up and listen so you can measure them against your company's core values the whole time. If you start talking too much too early and they end up to be a highly immoral person, you're just wasting everybody's time. You're talking in the beginning without figuring out they're an immoral person. An hour later, you figured out they're a liar. Now you've just wasted an hour of everyone's life. Okay. But once you do identify them as a high quality candidate, you've asked those questions, they've told magnificent stories that align to your core values. You, my friend, now have work to do. You need to get to work recruiting them. So how do you do that? You inspire them by telling them your stories. Okay. The passion that you have for your business will come through naturally as you tell the stories. Me, I tend to kind of get very intense. I get like semi-altruistic, right? Like, I want to change the whole world. And then my competitive side generally comes out. I legitimately, in the interview, almost always tell the person across the table from me that I'm going to take over the entire world. And in order to do that, I need a lot of great people with me to accomplish that. Okay. That is a big statement, but I mean it to the truest, most deepest part of my heart. Okay. There is a pause at how hard I will go on talking this section. Okay. So what I mean by that is the better the candidate is, the more memorable my talking will be. Okay. Lower grade, that's a really bad way of saying that, but lower ranked candidate, cool. I don't need to like go crazy and like, right, let's get out of here in 45 minutes. Super special candidate that I know I just can't freaking live without. Nick's going on his TED talk. Okay. My recruiting matches the level of their interview. All right. So only you know the core values of your business, right? So you know the stories that go along with those, like, so whatever it is. Okay. But you want to set up the conversation like this. So they did get done telling an awesome story. It's pretty much the last question that you wanted to ask them on your sheet. So you say something like this: awesome, man. Thank you so much for being open with me. So you said something when you were telling me that story about the family that left that big tip. I thought it was so badass that you comped their entire appetizer without even asking your boss. Now, I know this is a weird thing for me to say as the boss, right? But I appreciate my people solving problems and telling me what they did after it's fixed, to a point where like I'm going out of my way in an interview to tell you this, right? So last weekend, we had a situation where one of the guys, this client, this is how he fixed it, blah, 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 right? And then you go into your core value laden story, like heavy, deep core values, and tell him what happened. Boom. Okay. You just told the kid that not only will he not get in trouble for breaking the rules, aka being a leader, but he'll get appreciated for it, praised for it, and maybe you'll fucking tell stories about him someday to other people, right? Freedom to operate? Yes, sir. Okay. Useless rules? No, not here. Okay. Now, this is all, of course, is coming from the guy that hates rules and uses the pirate flag emoji instead of the smiley face, right? But those are my core values. Like that's my core value. Like, I want you to just go and fix it and then just let me know afterwards, right? That's super important to me. Okay. They want that level of inspiration. Why? Tip number 7, know that great people want great leaders. Okay. Great people, they kind of know they're great. Okay. Their football coaches always told them they're special. Their teachers always were hard on them because they knew they could do better, right? A lot of the time, the special ones, they know. Okay. So they want to be someone, they want you to be someone that can lead them to the promised land. They know they're special. They know they have something ingrained in them. They don't know how to turn that into results. They need somebody that can lead them there. Okay. You know the one way to not do that right off the bat, that is, my friend, to be desperate. Desperation smells terrible and it will never, ever, ever attract anyone great. Okay. This is because the great people want to be led by a strong leader. You telling them how bad you need them and that all they have to do is show up and work hard and you take such great care of them, you care for them like family, dude, that's not an interview. That's not a job interview. Okay. That's also not what a great worker wants. Instead, they want structure. They want organization. They want vision. They want a vision to work towards and they want to be invested in it. They want growth. Be the person they believe can take them there. Be the person that the great person believes can get that out of them. Okay. Which leads right into number 8. Be well aware that they just want to be you. Okay. The more time goes on, the more and more people don't want to work for these big ass corporations anymore. Okay. They used to offer security in the past, but as times have changed, they've added more rules, more policies, more bureaucracy. Nowadays, workers, generally speaking, want freedom of expression. Okay. They want to be part of something special. They have heard romantic stories about startup culture. They want to be there in the beginning to help build. That is the key word there, build. Okay. Also, as the workforce gets younger and younger, compared to us, of course, the higher the percentage that worker wants to be an entrepreneur. Okay. It's getting to the point where everyone wants to be the owner nowadays. So use that to your advantage. Tell awesome stories about how you teach your employees how to do good business and how to run a good business. Tell stories of people you worked with that went on to start their own companies or became high ranking managers somewhere else. Again, the great people want to be invested in and they want to be with someone that can get them to where you are now. They want to be you. They want to know they can follow your footsteps. Okay. Tip number 9 changes gears a little bit. Know that this whole thing is going to take about an hour. Yes, your interview should absolutely be an hour long. Why? Because you have to make sure that they align to your freaking core values, man. I can't say it enough. Okay. Also, you've heard this in the other 8 tips we've covered so far already. Okay. It's going to take a while to make all this magic happen. But look, here's the bottom line. You can't make a smart decision on a stranger in 18 minutes. I don't care who you are. Okay. It takes time to get to know them. It takes time for them to tell their stories. It takes multiple stories to convince you they're a proper fit. Okay. You don't just convinced with one story how they handled an angry customer. It takes multiple stories. Okay. It takes time for you to flip it around and tell them how awesome your company is. It takes time for them to ask you the questions that they have. If it's less than 60 minutes and you hired them, you rushed it and you rolled the dice. Tip number 10. Okay, Nick. So what questions should I ask? So I want to have, this is my company's. I want them to have a complete and utter passion for doing a great job with people. Okay. Fuck rules, fuck policies. I actually want them to break those for the good of making a positive impact on the customer, on the client. Okay. Literally, my company's core value number 1 is aim to have a positive impact on someone's life. Life, not party, not on their Christmas. No, no, no. Aim to have a positive impact on somebody's life. Okay. So, what question do I actually ask for that core value? Okay. I have a bunch, but one of my usual ones is I say, tell me a story about the time you had your proudest moment as an employee. Like, what did you do? What made you so proud? Okay. I want to have people that have killer amounts of self-awareness also. Okay. I want to have people that have high sense of accountability. So one of my favorite questions of all time is, tell me a huge mistake that you made at work, but you get to redeem yourself and tell me how you fixed the situation and how you grew from it. It's my favorite question of all time. Okay. I also want people to take action when I need them to. So I ask them, tell me a story about a time you broke a rule on purpose and why it was the right move. Okay. I want my people to have urgency. So I ask them to tell me a story about their most hectic shift they ever had and how they got through it. That one I actually word kind of tricky. So I word it so they can basically just say, I drank a shitload of Red Bull and pushed through because what else can you do? You know what I mean? Or when it gets busy, the time goes by faster. So I like that. Okay. They almost have to go around the obvious to give me the right answer, to give me the story I'm looking for, right? Where they have a sense of urgency. Okay. One of my core values at both of my companies is also, if you're not having fun, make it fun. Okay. So I asked them to tell me a story about a time they kept it light on a super busy day, or how they cheered up a coworker, that kind of thing. I want to hear a story about how they kept it fun. Okay. When I have an employee that can teach, it's like, oh my God, I'm over the moon. I'm over the moon. Okay. So I always just ask if they've ever trained anyone at their jobs before. Lots of times they say no, right? Especially younger generation, because they just haven't made their way up into a management role where they have trained. But if they have, I ask who they've trained. Okay. If they're like, oh, a whole bunch of people, I'm like, awesome. Tell me about the best one. Okay. As they explain, I want to ask them what made this girl so great and how do they see that in them and how do they pull out the things they need to teach them. Like, I want to know how they mentored them. All right. So for your questions, I gave you some great examples there. Feel free to steal them. I highly, highly, highly suggest you kind of craft your own, because you're the one that knows your company's core values. Okay. I take the core value that I'm looking for and I basically just reverse engineer a question that asks them if they have that. But by telling a story they can't just get away with like, I always try to teach people everything because like more people that do a good job, the easier my job is. Like, that's not a story, dude. That's not an answer. Okay. They have to tell you a story about teaching somebody specific what they actually did. So again, not to beat a dead horse here, nail down your core values and then think of a situation that you've exemplified that from. Like, think of your own story, answer your own freaking question in your head, and then reverse engineer that. And boom, there's your question. Then you need to get a body in front of you so you can go test it. Okay. Which leads me right into number 11. Know that you need a place to interview. Okay. You're going to have a 60-minute conversation with a stranger. If you have an office at your warehouse, boom, easy. I literally have a chair right there at my office next to my desk. That's just for that purpose. So I can swivel my chair, have a conversation with the applicant. Okay. If you're working out of your garage and your kitchen table is your desk, first things first, I want to let you know that I have the deepest respect for you. Starting lean and mean like that is how so many legends before us did it. And it's epic. And I absolutely freaking love it. That said, your applicants do not want to come sit at your kitchen table. So what you're going to want to do is meet them at the closest coffee shop to you. Okay. The reason it's the closest coffee shop to you is because there is a scary percentage of interviews that just don't show up. Okay. And you don't want to waste your time having to deal with that. Okay. And there's an even higher percentage of interviews that do show up and they are not a great fit. And you'll know it in about 14 minutes. So time is precious. You don't want to waste it. So go to the closest location to you. Okay. Tip number 12. Know that you shouldn't make any huge decisions quickly. And that quick decisions, they look desperate. They look desperate. And the reason you don't want to look desperate in an interview or to an applicant is because it creates entitlement when you hire them. You needed them. Like, the chase is always better than the catch. Like, you need them to want to work for you, that you want them to chase you, not the other way around. Okay. So what you're going to do is always wait at least one day to make the hiring decision. Do not hire them until tomorrow at the soonest. A week is always far better. Freaking week? Why? Yes, a week. Because think about it like this, little analogy for you. That magical first date where you think you may have just met the one, your emotions are running high. It's been forever, dude, since you've been on a decent date. And then this one, like, there was sparks, you guys connected instantaneously. But then after you sleep on it at night and wake up the next morning, the euphoria has kind of worn off. And you remember that she said her dad almost shot her ex-boyfriend on a hunting trip. And you never got the full story of why that happened. Okay. Or you may have kind of overlooked the part where she said she has 2 DUIs because you were lost in the fact that she said that she's a competitive beer pong champion and you were just ready to fall in love. Okay. Yes, I like her, but we need to have another couple of dates before we make any big decisions. All right. We need to dig into these small red flags. Okay. Hiring is the exact same way. Or to say that differently, I actually think marriage is a love-induced hiring decision for years and years and years. I've always taught everybody marriage is just the most important hiring decision you can make. That's how freaking passionate I am about hiring and interviews. I literally equate marriage to it. All right. I am picky on hiring. I was highly picky on relationships my entire life. Okay. And I really made my wife, Michelle, work for it. I promise you. Okay. But look how that hiring decision played out. She's absolutely incredible. All right. So always, always, always wait to hire. Okay. Wait at least a day to hire, but you're going to want to grade them immediately. You want to grade them immediately. So as soon as they leave the coffee shop or as soon as they leave your office, you start grading them on your core values, right? But you're going to wait to make any decisions until tomorrow, right? Tip number 13, know that this all takes a shitload of practice, okay? Like I said in the beginning, I've done well over 1,000 interviews in my life and spent close to a decade obsessed with interviewing. Okay. That's a lot of practice. That's a lot of books I read. That's a lot of mental, like just driving an hour to work, thinking about interviewing. Like, it's a lot of time. Okay. Bottom line is, and I've seen this play out over and over and over and over to prove this point. Okay. With people I either managed or mentored, the better you get at doing interviews, the better your hiring will be, the stronger your teams will be, the less stress you'll have, the problems melt away when you do good interviews. I promise. So be aggressive about getting better at interviews. Be aggressive, man. I'm gonna leave it at that. All right. So I covered a lot there, and no doubt you guys have any questions. You guys are gonna have questions, and I cannot wait to answer them all. I cannot wait to answer them all because I absolutely love interviewing with my whole heart. It's just ridiculous. Okay. There's so much art in interviewing mixed in with science. So please just do me a huge favor. Do you a huge favor. Do not leave this freaking Zoom call tonight. If you have any areas at all that are foggy about what I just talked about, or if you have any questions, do not let me end the Zoom if you have questions. Me personally, I'm a people person, so I love interacting with people on video. I love when you ask questions and your camera is on. It just makes me so happy. And I will not lie to you, it makes the show exponentially better than me awkwardly reading comments. Okay. But however, I do understand that it's scary to talk in front of people, and you may be shy or unsure of yourself and you just started. So no worries. I promise you, if you're going to ask a question, it's going to be received well, no matter where you ask it. Where you guys want to ask questions, over in the chat. If you're on Facebook, you can ask them. Where are you, Facebook? You're in there. If you're on Facebook, you can ask them in that chat, or you can unmute. Just please ask your questions. Let's have a great freaking conversation right now about interviewing. So what do you guys got that you guys want to kind of touch on? I covered a lot of shit there. That's the longest I've ever talked ever at the beginning of the show. And while you guys get up the courage, whether it's liquid courage or it's whether it's liquid courage or actual courage, I'm going to tell you kind of how I learned all this stuff. First, I'm going to take a drink of tequila, though. My throat is dry from my TED talk there. So I'm going to kind of tell you my background, like how the did I learn all this stuff? Okay. So I am a person that is a firm believer that I stand on the shoulders of the giants that came before me, right? The people that invested in me and taught me all this stuff in corporate world. I owe so much, if not all of my knowledge to them. And I 100% know for a fact that I owe my thirst for more knowledge, or my absolute dedication to learning topics in a holistic manner to them. So I learned a lot of this stuff because it was taught to me by amazing leaders. That being said, I also then kind of went down the rabbit hole. But the best analogy that I could make for you here is when I went to go start doing my own Google ads for the Jump Off back in 2021, very early stages of 2021. And I got to the end and was just like, yeah, like this, I love it. Like I love data. I love analyzing. I love all that stuff. But I knew I had to go down a rabbit hole that's like as deep as this interview one that I went on, right? In order to get good at it. I also knew somebody that went down that rabbit hole. I just met him. His name was Tariq. So I just hired Tariq to do my Google ads because he already went down this passionate, right? So I've just gone down the in rabbit hole so deep on interviews. I literally had a fucking interviewing podcast. It was called Hire Easy, Lead Easy. There was only 2 episodes. But I literally started a podcast about interviewing back in the day. So that, my friends, is how I know this stuff. All right, we got some questions coming in over here on the Zoom. So I'm going to hit those real quick. How soon do you start interviewing? At what point? Okay, so this is from Derek. So what's up, Derek? Yeah, so he's asking how soon should he start interviewing? As of right now, he has 10 units and a 16-year-old son. So it's a good question. The actual answer is probably not that soon. However, I'm going to give you the right answer, in my opinion, which is tomorrow. The reason I say tomorrow is because you need to start doing bro. You need to learn how to interview. Like, it took me fucking 7 years to get this good. No, I do not think you need to get this good to build strong teams. Like, you need to have the ability to have a conversation with a stranger, pick out if they align to the core values that you have for your company, and inspire them to want to work for you. Like, those are the 3 check marks you basically need to have. Okay. You don't need to go down a 7-year fucking rabbit hole to figure that shit out. I promise you. However, when you do need somebody, okay, your 16-year-old son's going to break his leg in a dirt bike thing accident, right? You're going to want to go on vacation at some point in time, whatever. You need a guy. you can't hire a guy when you need a guy. You have to kind of already be leading it up. Like you have to have somebody on deck, so to speak, right? So I don't do as many interviews as I want to, but I just stay interviewing. I just stay interviewing.
Appreciate it, bro.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And look, the other part of that is I think the proper answer to, or the badass answer of that is, I would start doing interviews soon, and just tell your boy, like, yeah, I'm gonna just, you may need help one day, like, I may be out of town, whatever. Okay, and then as soon as you're like even remotely decent, just like where you're not sweating and nervous. Okay, as soon as you're not nervous doing an interview, have him come with you. Have him come with you, because the strength in numbers thing in interviews is real, really real. Where you're so your brain is trying to think about the next question, digest what he's saying. Somebody else is just sitting there chilling, picks up on shit that you miss a lot, a lot, a lot. So I would start doing some when you're not nervous, start bringing him with you, and start teaching him.
Definitely appreciate it, my man.
Absolutely, dude. All right. What else do you guys, what other questions you guys got about interviewing, dude? Interviewing, team building, hiring? Where do you guys do interviews at? I'm gonna ask you though. I'm gonna ask a scary question actually. Do you guys do interviews? Everybody's silent. Nobody does interviews for sure. Okay, I'm gonna go check.
My interview with my son was, do you want hot pockets or not? That's kind of how I hired him.
Yeah, you've got the son, so that's mine's 9, so it's like, not gonna make it. Let's see. All right, we got a good question on Facebook from Tatiana Coles. What up, Tatiana? Okay, so should we have certain requirements when hiring, like age, driver's license, how much they can lift? Yes, 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 yes. Abso-freaking-lutely. So, let's see, age. That I'm going to refer you back to your state requirements on age. So I know, like, if you're in California, like, dear God, you need a lawyer to navigate this stuff. The rest of you guys, like, probably like Seattle too, what's Washington nightmare. But the rest of us, like, it's right, it's pretty open. It's generally speaking 16, but just check to make sure in your state. Driver's license. So yeah, if you're gonna want to get a driver's license, and authorization of a background check, like a little form they sign, right? So you can do a background check. I do suggest doing those. I suggest doing those because you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. Okay. How much they can lift. Yeah, that's kind of that. Now you're kind of more into the HR policy section of things. So basically, you need to have a job requirement saying they can lift 50 pounds or whatever that is. Yes, that is very smart to have that way. It's, in my opinion, this is full opinion here. It's a little bit more rare to have that as a small ass business, like as small as we are. I think, shooting from the hip, think that a lot of those things are in place to stave off discrimination lawsuits. Personally, I just, as a dude that's not in love with rules, that's kind of what I think. So, but yeah, hell yeah, I would. Yeah, New York. Okay, New York, you guys got some weird shit too. So I would do some digging and make sure. I live in Louisiana, where it's like the freaking labor laws are insanely relaxed. Like it's like 1992 here, so I don't have to kind of navigate all that crazy stuff. My wife is born and raised in California. There's a highly strong chance we'll move back to California at some point in time in the next 2 decades. When that happens, I got to make a decision if I want to start a business there, because it's a lot to freaking go through. Let's see. Ariel asked, what about hiring someone with no legal papers? No clue. No clue. Lawyer, right? Check with, yeah.
Not in Florida.
Yeah, I don't know on that one. My gut tells me probably you can. And also put it this way, I would not hire somebody that's an illegal alien. I would not do that personally. But I'm kind of like, I mean, like I said, dude, I'm picky. I'm a picky hire. Like you really gotta wow me, dude. Generally speaking. Yes, I have done a poor job of team building plenty of times in my life, right? And been in the desperation mode, and you put on as much freaking cologne to hide that nasty desperation smell as you can, and you bide your time for 12 hours while they sleep so you can hire them first thing in the morning. I've done all of that. I've done all of it. But it's just, dude, every time you've ever hired out of desperation, you've just made your life harder, dude. That's all it is. That's all it is. You bring on the wrong person. They're they don't do a good job. You have to babysit them. You have to right, you guys know. You've worked with these people before at other jobs, or you've had or maybe you've hired them. I don't know, dude. I don't know. I'm gonna tell you guys a super cool thing that I do at the end of every interview. So this is like super cool life hack for ending an interview. So at the end of the interview, right, you kind of wind it down. The end of the interview almost sounds the same no matter what on every interview, right? Da, 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 you got any more questions? No, you're great, cool, blah blah blah. Right? They go, no, my only question is when do I start? Ha ha ha. Okay. So at that point in time, I tell them, cool, that question doesn't count because everybody asked that question. Yes, I'm trying to make them feel dumb for asking that question. And then I say, okay, the rule is at the end of every interview, you have to ask me two questions. It is open rein. You can ask any two questions you want about any topic in the entire universe. You have to direct them at me, obviously. Okay. But you can ask me anything, work related, pay related, family related, my kids, my wife, my car, my whatever you want. You can ask me anything in the entire world, but you have to ask two. Ready, go. Okay. The cool little thing that hack, I don't remember when I invented that. I've been doing it for years. The first thing they'll ask you is the question they're dying to ask you, but don't feel comfortable, right? They have a apprehension because they want to ask you something kind of weird or goofy or taboo. So what they'll do is they are so on the spot, they have nowhere to hide. They ask that taboo question, and it's always the best moment of the interview. If you can get them to ask that question, it literally will it can and will elongate lengthen the interview another 30 minutes. No question. No question. Because that's the question that they want to know. And you can tell by the way they ask it. And I just go ham on it. I go crazy passionate about it. And then generally speaking, you'll get a goofy one in there, right? What do I like to do for fun or whatever, you know what I mean? But at the end of the interview, force them to ask you two questions. You'll be shocked how much better the interview gets, even if it's already like a 9.5. Like it's crazy. Oh, one of the other things I wanted to tell you guys too is so when you're in the interview and you do tell me the story, right? I have a podcast episode that's like if you go to my podcast and scroll all the way down, there's like 60 episodes. It's like the first one, I think. It's literally the episode is called literally Tell Me a Story. Interview trick, tell me a story, something like that, but tell me a story. I did an entire podcast episode on Tell Me a Story. Okay. That was one of the first two podcasts I ever recorded back in like 2018 or some shit. But I did a whole podcast episode on it, and really went very heavy on it as hard as I could because here, let me see if I can find it while I'm talking. Because I had just left my corporate job, and at my corporate job, I was doing 8 interviews a week, basically quote unquote minimum. Like there was weeks I did 6, right? But for the most part, I was doing 8 interviews a week because that was my freaking job, and I was obsessed with it. And so I had honed that. Tell me a story. I had honed that. Like I was freaking really good at it back in the day. And so then when I quit my job, I was going to start this hiring. I think I was going to start a hiring company or something. I know I wanted to start a consulting agency that was heavy on hiring and interviewing, like team building stuff. But yeah, I was like a ninja back in the day. I actually got told by my boss that I was the greatest interviewer in the history of the company. And the company started in 1986 and was big. Okay, I'm gonna find this. It's gonna take me a second. Do you guys have questions or no? It's a very quiet episode. I was really hoping for some.
I thought this is actually one of the best episodes you've ever actually done. Like, I love this. I actually everything that you're saying was actually really like I've done none of that, to be clear. And like I'm like, but I'm like, oh, that's actually like I'm all about leverage, and I'm all about well, I like how you're just like don't seem desperate and stuff like that. Like I've created that type of atmosphere in a slightly unhealthy way, but it's also like not all my guys are blue collar, and like they don't take no shit. So like if there's somebody new that comes in, they're just like, oh yeah, no, this person's weak, like like weak link, like cut the fat, like just I mean like they don't care. They're immediately like, oh, this ain't gonna work. And then like sometimes like there was this one kid, he kind of just rubs me the wrong way. And then they're all like, no, he's great. And I still kept him on. Then his brother came on. His brother's like one of the best workers I've had too. Like he's definitely like, yeah, he's 17. He's just like almost perfect.
Yeah, I mean it's funny to me how the culture of the company is the people. Like I remember back in the day, I mean I had big fucking teams. Like I'm talking 350 employees, and then we'd balloon up to 500 to 600 at Christmas time. But I had the core, like the store managers that I managed directly, right? Everybody else was below them. But the culture would stay kind of what it was, but it would move around as you hire different people, and you'd have like this super like inclusion one where it's like a new manager is promoted, and like all of a sudden they're like texting and sending group emails. You know what I mean? And then like it would move a couple years later, like yeah, a new person's promoted, and they're like over in the corner, they're like not gonna make it. Da, 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 da. I'm like, dude, like help them out. So it's kind of funny how the entire culture of the company, in my opinion, is like predicated on the people, and you can nudge that culture, like it's nudge, but you can't force it, man. You can't.
Yeah, it doesn't happen unless you like the only way you can change like company culture is just like fire everybody and hire everybody new. It's like the only way you're actually changing that overnight.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not gonna be pretty.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I mean, and that's why like and this is like a natural thing. This is not like something I learned or whatever. It's just like who I am as a human being. I was always so picky about hiring. I used to get in trouble back when one of my best friends was my district manager for a long time. His name's Drew. And so when Drew was my boss, I ran the biggest store in his district and the second biggest store on the entire Western US. And this is like way back as a store manager. And I always had these like tiny, small little crews. And he's like, dude, you don't have enough employees. You don't have enough employees. I'm like, there's nobody, there's nobody good to hire. And he'd come to interviews, and he'd be like, this person's great because this. And I'd be like, bro, here's why I don't want to hire him. This. I'm like, dude, I'd rather be picky and run a small crew than the opposite. You know what I mean? Because yeah, because the opposite, it's like, oh my god, I'm trying to find that freaking podcast, dude, but I can't find it. It'll only go back to March 12th, 2020, and I know that
biggest thing my guys are like learning out like or two is like that they got to talk more and like voice their problems because their problems are my problems, so that I can fix them. And that's what, because now that I'm in the office now, I have time. Like last year I was bored, but I didn't realize what to do. And now this year I'm just fixing problems as they come in, so I don't got to deal with them again.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, agreed with that.
And then I mean, solidifying it, making routines, and just a little like just constant upkeep on my manager and making sure like he's running everything right. So I don't have to really do much though. I don't do shit. I'm not running the trucks anymore. I'll deliver a dunk tank here and there because it fits in my truck fine. It just takes up so much space in the truck. So it's like I can deliver a dunk tank by myself. I also hate the amount of money I get. I only get like $300 for a dunk tank. So it's like I'd rather just go deliver that myself. You know what I mean? Make the money. I know it's good ROI. It's like answer some phone calls in the truck, chill, make sure, you know what I mean, try to deliver it the day before or so, do it at like freaking 2 after 12. And I look at here's like a really important thing I would say too, like look at your times that you're busy. And then like if you're if you're getting phone calls like a shit ton on a Monday, like I don't know about everybody's, like at least this is my looks like. I'm curious what everybody else's looks like. But like if you're getting a ton of phone calls on a Monday morning between like 8 and noon, like if that's the majority of your sales and stuff like that coming on a Monday during the week, and you have a Monday job, like you should have somebody answer the phones. Like that should be a priority or something like that. Like you should try and, you know what I mean, hire for that. Like there's multiple times that I wish, like right now, that I've had schools call me that even with me answering, the only one answering the phones, like today, I had to go look at a box truck and look at lift gates for it and stuff like that. And I was out of the office, so people were calling. I missed like a phone call from the school, where if I had a secretary, it would just roll over to their phone and they could answer it, because, you know what I mean? Because it would have rang, or most likely it would go to their phone first. And then if my phone rings, I know, oh, there's a problem.
Yeah, that was the first obviously not the first hire that I made. But I was kind of in a position where I needed to make a choice, like, is it a field manager or is it an office manager? And I made the choice to go office manager because I had the right person. So Cassie worked for me in my other business already as the office manager, and oh my God, amazing is just like not even a word that describes the shit that she does and handles and everything. So I made the kind of like, I was like, ooh, it's all right. We're gonna bring her over to the jump off. You know, I think we can afford the payroll. And it's like, dude, everything has gotten better because she is on top of all the messages that come through Event Hawk. She's on top of all the phone calls that come in, and then like that's her.
Get the deliveries. Like, does
What's
she ever
that?
go on orders or deliveries? Does she understand that?
A little bit. So just from her, so she's never gone on one.
Yeah.
But she has, I met her from them renting from me. They started renting from me like OG days, like very, very OG days, and have rented multiple times. And then now obviously we give her, like, she gets free rentals. So whenever she has a rental, like, and this is like her personality, like this is not me doing this. She's like out there like learning, especially with Christmas lights, right? So we put Christmas lights on our house for free, obviously. And so she's out there like helping the guys put her own Christmas lights on her house so she can learn how to do that, be a better Christmas light.
And that's why I'm going to make this statement, because I like that you went full office manager. I don't know how to hire for that or manage that yet. I know I need that. What I'm really been spending a lot of time though is having my warehouse man, like my main guy. I've actually been giving him access to my back end. I've been giving him access to my ClickUp so he can give like different, not like notes and stuff. Like ClickUp's just an organization manager. It's a different app that I use for like all my tasks and all that stuff. I use it for all my businesses and that I run, so I can put it all in one place besides just having like using it IO task manager or something like that. There's a reason I actually use ClickUp, because I have multiple businesses all over the freaking place. But what was I getting at? I forgot, lost my train of thought. What was I talking about?
Because I had hired Cassie.
Oh, so my manager, yeah. So I've been training him to kind of like train all the drivers so they know what's going on. So there's more drivers, because at the end of the day, we were talking about it today. Like, if these guys keep coming up, keep working and doing the way that they're doing and all that, like, there's no reason for, like, he can't next year just be in the office most of the time. Yeah. So we're like, it's going to be at that point. And I think that is even more valuable when you can get somebody to come from the field and into the office, because they'll be able to sell more and not sell like dumb shit, where you just deal with bounce houses and like water slides and stuff like that, foam. It doesn't get as complicated. But when you start doing tents and bounce houses and foam machines and like, you know what I mean, all that other crazy shit like together, like then it starts to like get like, okay, like somebody, if they're in that booking system and they like don't know what they're doing or don't understand the field, like they're gonna be like, you know what I mean, okay, cool, I'll just book 5 schools for 7 o'clock in the morning and it'll be fine that day, like, because they're just taking orders in. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I can't think of too many examples off the top of my head, but that's just one of them.
There was one last week where I was going through. I remember how I caught this, but I noticed there was a reservation that we had like on the drop schedule confirmed. That was no deposit was paid. And so I'm like, what in the world? No deposit was paid. Oh, because Cassie texted me. She said, "Did you notice that this chick?" Because Cassie was sick last week, so I made a large portion of the drop schedule. And she said, "Did you notice that so and so was at a park? This rental was at a park." I'm like, "No, I didn't notice it was a park. There's no park fee on it." She's like, "Oh my god, I totally messed that up." I'm like, and so I go and look at it because I was going to add the park fee to it, and then I noticed there was no deposit paid. I'm like, what's happening here? She said, "Well, she said she doesn't have a credit card, so she's going to be paid cash on drop off in full." And I was like, "Okay, woo." Right. And so I was like, no, we don't do that because we can have a card on file for damages, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then if they like this, it was like an old bounce house they rented. So it's not
1 out of 100 chance they could totally just steal that shit and just run away
Yeah.
because there's no card on file. Which
or
is
somebody else steals it because they're like, they
always
bounced
rent it at a
it.
park. They don't do it at people's houses. They do that shit at parks too. Like when it happens, it's like 9 or 8 times out of 10 it'll be at like a park.
Yeah,
That's
so
what's funny too. So there's a bunch of red flags there.
yeah, it was like, oh, I mean, everything went fine, right? They
So
paid-
you
that-
had a bounce house stolen from you, Justin?
I haven't had any, but I know other people that have. I've seen mad shit in the groups. I've been around for way too long. I've been doing this for way too long.
Stolen a bounce house before.
Huh?
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure Freddie just said he stole a bounce house before.
bro. Rugged.
No.
Hey, to clear the air, Justin, Freddie, y'all brothers? Yes or no?
No.
No,
Oh, shit.
He's
All
from
right.
I am
Florida.
super Chico.
Yeah, no, I'm Italian Mexican.
Got it.
But Italians and Hispanics get along, you know. So we get confused with each other sometimes.
That's funny. That's funny.
Nick, back to you.
So back, I wanted to say something too about
Get to the regular schedule.
I had some crazy shit happen today. I'm gonna read this review that I got. Oh, it got even crazier too. This got even crazier. This is like I had to train my guys. This is like a whole teaching moment. I was like, you do not talk to customers like this. Like it was a whole thing. This is where I'm just gonna start off with. It was a 4-star review though, so it's not like it was. So his wife gives me the review first, and it's a 5-star review. And it says, it's a great one with a picture and everything. The bounce house is a brand new condition considering it's a rental. The guys that deliver it were very friendly and respectful. The communication was great through the whole process. I would give 10 stars if I could. Amazing for the price. And then that's Cynthia Madison. And then the other one was Justin Madison. And I got 4 stars. And the product itself was great. The setup crew did a great job and were very friendly. We expected pickup the evening after the event. However, no one showed up. Late the next morning, I got a call. They were on their way for pickup. After they did not show for an hour, I called the number back and they said they got a call by the boss to another last-minute delivery and they're on their way now. It was a little frustrating as we had plans for the rest of the day that were held up. I responded, honestly, we were terribly sorry we kept you waiting on us. Our delivery and pickup times are always subject to change, but we always arrive before your party. We do not require anyone be home for pickup as well. This was a crazy Memorial Day weekend and sorry we had to switch pickup schedule. We would love to work with you again next year and make it up to you. And that's basically what I said, but it was a 4-star review. It was super passive aggressive. I had to explain to my guys like, yo, when all they heard was my boss told me to go do something else. I already told you I was on the way and we didn't even have the courtesy to freaking call you and let you know.
Right.
So and like when I said that to them, he was like, oh yeah. Like I was like, dude, I don't even tell customers times. Like I tell them like you are 2 deliveries ahead. You are 2 pickups ahead. You know what I mean? You have 2 more pickups before you because at the end of the day, what happens when you hit a freaking water main or something? What happens when you're tripping breakers for an extra 20 minutes? What happens when, like, you know what I mean? There's just something, I know you guys all dealt with it. You know what I mean? Something happens. It's
Yeah,
you're fighting in the wind for an extra 20 minutes, so it throws off your time frame or something. Or the suddenly there's a gate and then you can't go there, but you want to like just change the delivery route real quick, or suddenly somebody isn't freaking home or whatever. You want to change the delivery route. I have to make it super flexible, especially if you want to add stuff. Sometimes you can't add things because you already just told everybody the delivery schedule and you can't add it on the top because it won't work out. But if you didn't really have everybody have a delivery schedule, you drop off before 12. You know what I mean? No matter what, Nick doesn't like this. I know. you give everybody a specific time. I know. But me, I'm just like, I drop off before 12. If you want a specific time, it's $100. I will make sure it's there at that time and do the logistics for it and eat time of my day. But other than that, let me do my shit. I'll make sure it's there before noon. 90% of parties aren't starting before noon. Like, just
we had similar situation this weekend that I kind of chalked up to the same thing where I was like, I really want to teach my guys kind of like the etiquette portion of it, right? Because they're like, you got to remember, like they're in the trenches, so they're focused on let's get this. I think if I remember right, they had a flooded slide, and then some shit happened with the 27-foot dual lane 2, some mud situation, whatever. So they ended up behind schedule, and so I'm up at the warehouse. I was selling some used units, so I was up at the warehouse, showing a slide to a guy, and phone rings. I answer it, and on Sundays I answer the phone. Cassie's off on Sundays. And it's a lady that's asking when they're going to be there to pick up the slide. I'm like, hold on, like, let me pull the schedule. And I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, it's 1 right now. I'm like, they're supposed to be there at 12. I'm like, I know they got held up, but I'm not 100% sure what's going on, but I know they had some kind of issues that they ran into that really, really slowed them down. I'm like, but it's okay. Like, you know, everything okay? She's like, well, my husband's waiting all day. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. He does not, you can tell him to go. Like, he can go. He does not need to be there. She's like, well, we have this dog. We're worried about this dog. I'm like, okay, like he can't put the dog inside. Like if he needs to wait, like I can get you an exact time when they're going to be there. But like he does not need to be home. Like nobody needs to be there when we pick it up. And I want to explain to the guys, like if you start to get behind like that, just inform somebody, whether it's Cassie, it's me, or the clients. All of those are equally adequate. I just want to make sure that we can keep everybody else in the loop. Generally speaking, on a Sunday, it's mostly pickups. People don't really ever care. Still, like a quick text, like, "Hey, we're behind an hour" or whatever. I mean, will go a long way. It's yeah, good moment for the guys.
it gets deeper. I told them all kinds of crazy shit. Like for example, I literally said this. Like I'm gonna try and quote myself, but it's pretty much I definitely said shit like this. I was like, I'll tell people if I'm late and it's like super late and I already told them a time or something, or like they need it, you know what I mean? Whatever. I'll tell them I had a flat tire. Like you know what I mean? Like whatever. And then like I just, you know what I mean? And just save their party. I'll make up a wild story. Like I'm still coming. They just want to make sure you show up. They don't really care if you're a little bit late, if something crazy happens. And then like, and this is like, you told somebody a specific time. This is when I stopped telling freaking time. But literally, I said this to my manager, Justin. I'm like, Justin, how many times do you hear me say I had a flat tire last year? He's like, I don't know how many, but I definitely heard it a couple. And I'm like, how many times did we have a flat tire last year? And he's like, none. And it's like like little stuff like that. The other one that I do, literally fucking dog ate my homework type shit. Like I will like if I somehow double book a bounce house, I will literally call them. I will wait until like a week out if I notice it and just have something reserved that's like generic. I will call them a week out and I will literally tell them that freaking something had happened to it. And it's going to be a couple weeks to get it repaired or something. They won't ever know the difference. And I switch the bounce house out. And it's so better than saying face like, oh, I double booked this unit. I'm sorry or whatnot. And then like more than 75% of the time, they don't give a shit. What else you got booked? And you just switch it. And if
I had one I sold. So we're getting a new dual lane tropical combo that's hopefully will be here tomorrow, maybe the next day. But I was under the impression like that is going to be here last week. So I'm like, fuck it, I don't need all these tropical whatevers. So like me not even thinking about it, I put it up for sale last Thursday, and then hit on it as soon as I post it. I want it. I'll send you a deposit. I'm like, hold on, let me make sure it's not booked. Like I didn't think somebody's gonna buy it like that minute. Sure enough, it's booked, right? So yeah, I called her up. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna sell that unit. Like, it has like a little bit of an issue with it. I'm like, it's not like a huge catastrophic issue. We can still bring it to you if you want. I'll sell it next week. Like, but I've got another tropical combo. It just has a pool at the bottom. She's like, oh my God, I didn't book one of the pool. I'm like, no, what you have is like a splash pad, like no pool. She's like, no, pool, give me pool. Yeah, sell your other one. That's good. Give me the pool one. Like, booyah.
Exactly. Like most of the time they don't care. They're happy I had another one and didn't just have to freaking cancel on them most of the time. So it's just try that option. If they get all pissy with you, well, if you would have, they probably would have got even more pissy with you if you told them you double booked then. like to be clear, like so
the software had a hiccup. I don't know.
Yeah, don't say that shit. Don't tell them that. Don't. That's your fault. But if you saved their party because you had an extra bounce house because some other customer's idiot dog ate it, now you're the fucking hero. And you like, I'm telling you, you turn your mistakes into good reviews by like, I'm totally telling you to lie, but like I'm telling you, like it's just at the end of the day, as long as you're like not canceling on people and you're not stiffing on them, that's what really, really matters. Shit happens, mistakes happen, but save face for your company. And if you really feel bad about it, just throw some extra shit in or something. But I don't even do that. So I'm just being, like
I had one last week. What the fuck happened last week? Maybe it was 2 weeks ago, but it was a similar situation. Some weird stuff happened. And but it was kind of like a similar conversation where it was kind of like, no, you're good. Like you have to remember, like they're gonna freak out if they don't have the unit for their party, right? Because your unit is like the cornerstone of their party. So it's like when you make that phone call, like let them know everything's all good. I got plenty of stuff. We're gonna get you a equal slide, but here's what happened.
I've honestly been doing so much sketchy shit.
Oh, dude, you want to know? I did, and this was not dishonest. It was just I changed my mind. So I was gonna buy 22-foot dual lane from HEC. They have these new extended lane slides. They're like badass. I buy one of those, and then they've got a pretty sweet sale right now. So I'm like, I'm gonna go buy this unicorn combo. I need some more girl stuff in my inventory. So I'm gonna do that this week. Dope. So on the website, Sunday, Monday, I don't know what day it was. Put both of those up on the website. Like, let's get some bookings going, right? Comes to yesterday. Okay, decided. Never mind. I went and did some research. I'm like, wow, combos make so much less money in summertime than I thought they did. It's crazy. Makes no sense to buy a combo right now. I'm going to buy two 22-foot dual lane extended lanes. We're going to do that instead of the combo. So I went into the software to go make the combo in the inventory 0 instead of 1 so nobody can book it. And then this little girl right here that just walked in my office distracted me because summer camp hasn't started yet. And I forgot to put the freaking bounce house to 0, dude. So today, Cassie texts me and says, LOL. I was like, what? Unicorn bounce house? I'm like, oh no, dude. So I go in. A lady booked it for the 17th. It is booked as we speak right now, 18 days from now. Did not buy it. We bought two 22-foot dual lanes today, not the unicorn one. So I've got to figure out what the hell to do with that situation. They have the sale, so I may just go buy it anyways.
Clearly,
I'm going to buy it anyways. And the sale ends on the 4th of July. So like I got to buy it before the 4th of July. So I'm going to buy it basically a week or two earlier than I had planned now. But I'm just like, oh my God.
Dude, dude, I freaking love you because that is literally what I was about to say. I've been doing some sketchy shit. Like that's exactly the type of stuff I've been dealing with. So I'll like basically I have these tents they're supposed to be in, 2 extra tents for the school. They're custom. And they're supposed to go up on the 7th. Now I guess they're coming in on the 6th. So like I'm like losing my mind. And then like I basically was talking to this brewery that I go to all the time, and I got their freaking street festival. And then he sent me all, it's his first time he's actually doing it, like running it himself. So then he sent me all the information. I sent him everything, all the pricing, all that stuff. Never sent me anything back. And then he sends me a message today. Oh, it's 2 weeks out. Just can we add 2 tents? I'm like, yo, I don't have like it. I'm booked out completely that weekend. So I have to go buy extra tops for that tent for the other tents because they're custom. And then I can slap them on. I wasn't going to do that yet, or I could have just had them with this order ready to go here. I was going to wait a little bit before I had to do that. So now I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to lose the brewery and the festival in the street every year. So I freaking called them right back as my order's getting shipped today. I'm like, yo, can you also put up? So now he's sending out a bunch of tops out tomorrow. It'll come with it or within the week because it needs to be at least for the next week after. So I'm doing stuff like that. I had all my slides on my site. Here's an interesting conversation I will have with you, Nick. And this is my hypothesis that goes right into all of this. And I think it's really there. And there it is right there. Don't put fucking coming soon on your site. Honestly, I did this. And honestly, I was thinking about it. I got less bookings than other ones. And in reality, you can just put it as not available and you can't book it and put some wording on there that's saying, oh, this one, like right at the top or in red in the description, this won't be available till this date. So now they can at least see that. But then putting that coming soon discourages people from actually clicking on it and checking out like at all. Like
I did that as fast as I freaking could when after Cassie sent me that text. I'm like, oh shit. So I went and just slapped that puppy on there. So I was like, I don't have it.
And that's what I did is I had all my orders that were coming in for specific dates. I basically put it in for a little bit after, so I had some buffer time in case something happened. And I went for it and just put them in my inventory for rent and put them on my website. I did that coming soon stuff, but those. So I have slides. Those got to be in here before next 2 weeks, but I already paid those off, so that'll be set. But the real sketchy stuff is really just like buying things and renting them out before you have them, and then like just spending the money as it comes in to try and make sure you got all those orders to a certain point.
Yeah, that's the first time I've ever done, right? And it was an accident, but I'm like, like I'm actually might be kind of cool with that. Like if I think I might want to buy it, like I have the money, I could have bought it today.
You want to be careful with that, dude. That's what I'm saying. Like if me personally, I know exactly where, like how much of everything I kind of want and how much, where I need to be like right around 800, 900K and be running super lean. Like I know what, like I have the vision for it. So I'm not going to sit here and buy extra shit. So, okay, I'll spend the money now. If I need it, I can get it rented out and it's worth it. But you only want to do it to a certain point, because if you do that too much, now like you don't spread it out as much. Like I can spend a whole bunch of money on obstacle course. Like I'm probably going to spend another 20K on obstacle courses, but I do want to spend 40K on games this year. Like, so it's like, you know what I mean? Where does it start eating out of my profit for myself to actually go take home? And like, I don't care too much because I do have my end goal, but at the end of the day, like you can just keep buying equipment forever if you let yourself.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually so I'm to the point now where I really want to educate myself on that. So I kind of talked to my CPA. I'm hoping I can get him on here. We could do like a CPA episode, but because there's a point in time like, and this might be crazy, and I have the jump off set up as an S corp, meaning I have to be on salary, and the salary has to be paid via payroll. So I have to have a payroll check that taxes
A
come
reasonable
out.
salary too, so you can't just freaking pay yourself $1.
And I don't want to, I want to set up the salary to be like, right, a good wage. Obviously the jump off pays for a whole bunch of other shit that's like nice perks, right? That's great.
I'm not a CPA. All I was saying with that is like you can technically get in trouble if you're getting paid less than your manager. Because as you know what I mean? Like
right.
Little stuff like that.
Yeah, I want to have Brian on here as like a CPA episode, because in my opinion, now that I'm on salary, and so as long as I can make payroll, so to speak, right, for my guys, and then that counts me, which elevates the payroll greatly, right? But now that I'm on payroll, I kind of don't want to profit very much money. Like I don't want to profit.
No, that's not true.
Really anything.
No, you get taxed more on freaking payroll and you do profit. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I want
pay yourself as little as possible and then put as much profit as you can because you get taxed more, you get taxed less. What are you talking about?
I'm on payroll. I'm like a regular ass employee.
No. It's to be clear, it's both your income. You get taxed less as profit than if you paid yourself through wages.
Right.
But both the money goes to you and as income towards whatever fucking financial shit you want to do. But you'll be paying more money in government tax. You want to pay yourself the bare minimum, but you have to pay yourself a fair wage. You can't do stupid shit. I'm not a CPA, to be clear, but I'm just saying.
That's what I'm saying. That's where I am. That's what I do. That's where we're at now.
But you still want to pay yourself more in a salary?
No, I want profit less.
Yeah, why?
Because I'll just buy more inventory. Like,
no, okay, yeah. I thought you meant profit less and throw that profit into wages, not profit less.
Yeah,
all right, cool.
My wage.
Yes, I buy fuck profit. I'm paying myself. I want to buy a shit ton of inventory till I don't. That's when you just take a big hit one year for profit. You know what I mean? In taxes or something like that, and go buy it. This is the ultimate goal. I'm not a CPA. I said it like 3 times, but I'm not a financial advisor either. But once you can take all that money, take a shit ton out, buy your warehouse, and then have that as a separate company and start paying a shit ton of money towards your warehouse. And so now you have a property company, like an actual a freaking, I can't even think of the word right now. You're a property management company. Like you're just, you know what I mean? You just own a bunch of houses. I know a company in right around me. This is one of the companies I first worked for. I won't drop their name. Because I do like them. So they do that. They do that exactly that. She's the one that taught me like this when I first started. And they pay a shit ton in rent. So there's barely any cash or liquid assets in their rental business.
Mm-hmm.
And now now if they ever get sued, there's not that much liquid assets. All the trucks and stuff like that are actually owned by a corporation. And you know what I mean? So is the building and all that. And the rental company just actually rents all that stuff from that corporation, like the actual vehicles and all that stuff. So it's a different holding company, but it's a real estate company. So it actually has different tax benefits and all that. So this is where it gets fucking nuts though. Now you already own your warehouse. And now so you own your warehouse and there's a shit ton of money in that company. You got to buy more houses. So you buy a house and you give your manager, you don't give him a raise, you give him a house that the company pays for and you write it off. This is what they did. He gets paid $19 an hour, but he has a house and a truck that the company owns and he has no assets to himself and can't really build himself up. And he's stuck there in that company because it's basically got handcuffs on him because he's got his house is owned by that. Why would he go anywhere else? But he doesn't own anything because he's not getting paid $25 an hour. It's the craziest money move carnival thing I've seen in real life ever.
Yeah, that's
you know what I mean? So you want to talk about employees? I mean, it's just
that's why I want to have the CPA episode basically. So I'll have to basically have a meeting before the meeting with Brian to make sure that everything we're going to talk about is kind of like vetted ahead of time. And then we can come on here and kind of clarify a lot of that stuff. Not that, because a lot of the audience of this show, and then in general, my audience skews new, right? So 3 units, 5 units, 8 units, 12 units. And so a lot of the stuff we're talking about now is not relevant because it's down the line stuff. But if you know, so this is why I like to talk about it. Because if you know at least at all, like what Justin and I are talking about, now you've heard it to where when you do start to have success and scale the company and quit your job and, need to invest and figure out how to pay yourself and blah, 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 you've now heard this conversation that will give you some insight on what the hell to maybe possibly go do, or at least ask the accountant or the CPA. Whereas as I scaled, I had nothing, right, to go off of because I'm fucking busy, dude, scaling a company. I'm not out there watching CPA podcasts and like listening to business shit. You know what I mean? I'm like working. And so and I made, right, to go back to the whole emphasis of the show, I made a hiring mistake in hiring my original CPA. She sucked. She didn't protect me. She didn't educate me. She was not available. I couldn't reach her. And I got thoroughly screwed, okay, because I needed to make my company an S corp before I did, and she didn't protect me in that. And then she went ahead and made both my companies S corps, which when I hired Brian, he was like, to have both these companies S corps is fucking asinine. Jump off, absolutely. Your Christmas light business, no. Here's why, blah 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 blah. But it's like now my shit's kind of a mess, right? And so I got to file a tax return for my Christmas light business, a tax return for the jump off, and a tax return for Nick and Michelle. And so I got to pay to have 3 tax returns. Luckily, Brian's a G, and he only charges me 1 because he knows she fucked it up, and it's not that hard, blah, 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 blah. But it's like the moral of this whole story is being as you're prevalent to this conversation now, as you do have success, it kind of guides you a little bit to know, A, what's coming. Like you go from cute side hustle guy to fun entrepreneur to real businessman real fucking quick. Okay. And B, to know that you do need proper guidance along the way as you grow. So that's why I want to have Brian come on the show so we can almost like fake scale a business in the beginning, and I can talk through it from an operations standpoint, and he can talk through it from financial standpoint or accounting standpoint of what you should do, when you should do it, how you should do it, who you should call, because it's scary, dude. It's scary as fuck. So I hope that added some value to you guys. Like, I know me and Justin were talking about some weird shit about owning your warehouses and blah 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 blah, but it's just it's a conversation that seems weird or seems out of place. However, especially in this current climate of this industry that we're all in, I've never ever, and not that I've been in this industry that long, right? I got in 2019, but I've never ever seen the level of success from new operators like now. It's fucking insane, dude. I want to give lots of props to lots of people for causing that, which there's a bunch of us that did. But like in 5 years from now, the amount of big, well-ran, properly operated companies is going to be staggering. So a lot of the people that are watching this right now or listening right now are going to be those people that do it right because they have resources, our YouTube channels, this show, Jumpstart program, blah, 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 where you can do it right and grow big and grow fast. Like, it's crazy. Somebody on Facebook said, anyone else have questions? Jay Brown, anyone else have questions? Did you have a question, Jay? I would love more questions from the people, so put them in the chats. But if you have a question, holler, bro. Holler, Jay. I got you. Let's see. I'm gonna kind of jump back to the original topic here and see. I had kind of some extra bonus tips that I was kind of hitting on, or I wanted to hit on. Oh, here's another one. Okay, here's a good one. Okay, so we're going way back to interviews. Okay, woo, take it all back to the beginning of the show. Interviews, or the topic of the show. So, how will you know if they're the right fit? How will you know? So there is kind of an altruistic version of this answer, which is like, when you know. It's like, how do you know when you're going to be in love? How do you know when she's the one? How do you know if this is the house you're going to buy? Like, you do kind of just know, okay? But human beings are incredibly complex people, and so your gut can be wrong, okay? And you know that from all the ex-boyfriends or girlfriends you've had, okay? So what I like to do is marry those two things together. So your gut tells you, your heart tells you, your emotions tell you this person's the one. I want to build my company with this person. They're incredible, blah, 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 blah. Great, cool. You kind of fell in love emotionally. So then you also got to go then take it to logically. And so what I used to do back a long time ago before anybody ever taught me to do interviews and I just kind of winged it and like was teaching myself. I was subpar at best, but I would literally, and I do not remember what these things were, but I would literally rate them on a scale of 1 to 5, I think. And I just made up like a list of 10 things or 5 things or 8 things or whatever it was. And I would rate them on that. And then what I would do back way back in the day is then I would set, if I liked them, I would then set up another interview with my assistant manager. And I'd have my assistant manager rank them on the same things. We kind of compare notes. Okay. But the moral of that is that you'll know when they're the right fit when they scratch both itches, meaning on paper they score well, and in your emotions or your gut they score well. I've hired people where they score well on only one of those. I mean, God, how many fucking times? Meaning your gut knows something's wrong, but like on paper, like you can't, like I can't pass this person up. Like, look at these answers. Like, but your gut's telling you something wrong. Okay, something's always wrong, and it never works out. Okay, vice versa. Your gut's telling you this person is going to be amazing. I can think of the person in my head. I remember her vividly, and it was a gigantic hiring mistake that really was didn't cause any like major problems like that. But it really almost undermined my ability to hire and promote, and it was a mess. On paper, it was no good, but my gut was like, I don't know, dude, like high integrity, like I really like this person. So you got to marry the two together. So how will you know when they're the right fit? Like your gut will know, and then on paper, they'll know. Like now I have the core values. I actually literally the 5 core values, and I rank them on those. Let's see. I think that's all of my. Oh no, one last cool little life hack. When you do a good job of making them tell you a story, you'll know when they're lying. It's very interesting to have a person tell you stories instantaneously. When it's a lie, you know right off the bat. There's weird details that are missing. The story doesn't like you on the spot just can't make up a fake story that is believable. Like 99% of people, yes, there is the compulsive liar that's what that guy does and he can do it. But most of the time, almost all of the time, you can tell instantaneously it's a lie. The other thing that's interesting about telling me a story is as they tell you the story, if once you kind of do it a couple times, you can pick out the pieces of the story that are a lie, right? So overall, the story is kind of true, but then there's pieces in the story that they embellish or an issue came up that they'll kind of downplay, and you can watch in their body language how they react as they're telling the story, and it's very unnatural. The way they'll tell the story in that section of the story, you can catch them in a lie a lot. It's really cool. But yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful you guys took some stuff out of the interviewing one, man. I was messing around with I was on the entrepreneur reality show back in January. It's supposed to have aired by now, but my season has not aired yet. So I'll blast it out whenever it airs, and hopefully I get some FaceTime on it. But there was 70 something cast members, so we'll see. But anyway, there's a guy that I met there named Adam, and he owns a company that does payment processing. He does credit card payment processing. And so, and he's a startup. So he's like a tech startup, basically. And so I had struck up a conversation with him because I'm like, yo, I got strong feelings about credit card processing, right? So we kind of struck up a conversation while we're on the show, but filming was crazy. We was like 12, 13, 14-hour days. So we only had a brief period. So then I ended up having him on the YouTube channel. And so we're going to talk about credit card processing and kind of being on the show and whatever. And then the whole conversation switches to core values. Like this whole crazy thing goes down where we're talking about interviewing and core values and hiring. And it ended up being an amazing conversation. But in that conversation, I told him, I'm like it's literally on my YouTube channel. I say, everybody knows me as the bounce house guy, but like I could fuck around real quick and be the team building guy and not the bounce house guy, because like I'm that passionate about this stuff. Like the people part of the business is really, really like I love business. And it almost doesn't matter what business I have, like I'm gonna be obsessed with it. And then I did fall in love with the bounce house business as I kind of started one after my wife bought some, right? So like those two things are great, but like the people side of it is just my absolute passion. So I hope everybody took something good out of the show tonight. And I'm looking forward to doing some more of these too. So we're gonna do four-part series with team building series. It's gonna be badass. All right, let's see. Yeah, so no other questions from anybody. So that's all good. I'm super pleased with how it turned out. I do listen to these back tomorrow, so I'll listen to the whole show tomorrow. So I'm interested to listen to my own show tomorrow. But if nobody else has any questions, I'm gonna end this fucker nice and early. But that being said, I'm gonna leave it super open door, like I said at the end of my monologue there. If you have a question, answer it. Do not let me end the Zoom if you have a question about hiring.
I have a question.
Yeah, what's up, brother?
Convicted felons. Do you guys hire them?
So historically, my answer to that is no. And I think that is the quick and easy answer. My answer is going to be no. Now, would I hire a felon, a convicted felon? Yeah, probably, bro. It's just one of those things where with that in the mix, you gotta, right? How do I say this correctly? The payoff has got to be worth it, right? Or the risk reward has got to be worth it. Meaning, at some point in time in your life, you committed a felony, right? And that's a serious offense and potentially poor decision making. Maybe I'm gonna call it. So whatever you're bringing to the table now has just got to outweigh that. We all like, dude. I did dumb shit as a teenager. I did dumb shit as my early 20s. I probably did some dumb shit in my 30s, right? Never ever got convicted of anything, but like that doesn't mean I didn't do dumb shit, right? So it's very situational in my opinion. I was in the past a hard no. I've kind of changed my thinking on it a little bit to where it would be situational. But do you have a situation that specifically comes up with that, or just in general you're asking that?
It was in general, but about a year ago, I used to work with a convicted felon that was convicted for murder, and really nice guy. Like I worked with him at my body shop. Really nice guy. Whatever. He was convicted. He did his 20 years, and then 4th of July, I'm like, bro, Antoine, I'm gonna hire you to help me because he's really strong. So, but after talking to some of the operators, they're like, don't do it because you never know if he does something to hurt somebody or something, and then it falls back on me.
Yeah, and that's kind of the risk, right? That's the risk versus reward. So it's like, I mean, if you like vouch for this dude, then do it. But you have that poor decision making past, and that's just kind of me sloppily calling it that, but kind of staring you in the face, telling you that at some point in time something happened major, right? I mean, it's like murder's not like a small thing, that informs you at some point in time he was capable of that. Is he rehabilitated? Is he, all of the things that could possibly happen? It's just, to me, it's just kind of like, let's see. I'm gonna try and word this correctly or politely, but it's just like I'm just not in a situation where hiring a convicted felon to me is necessary. Like it just needs to be the right situation, like the perfect situation, because sucks to say, right? I mean, I know they have a hard time getting work because of that shit. You know what I mean? But it's kind of like I just don't want to risk that in my business. Like it's just not for me to risk that.
Nick, it's funny you say that because I think of it in terms of, say, an unfavorable tenant. If I'm looking for a tenant And yes, I could be nice and get this person with low credit score, and they're trying to build it up, and they have this kind of problem, that kind of problem. I could be nice and be like, sure, I'll give them a chance. But when I have all these like high quality candidates around that I could get, it's one of those things where it's like, why take the risk when I could just get these higher quality candidates where there's
Yeah.
like no issues.
Amazing. Yes. Amazing analogy. My mom and dad had 2 rental properties. My mom was going to get a whole bunch of rental properties and build this whole empire, right? And so they had this exact situation where they had an open house. They wanted rented, and it was vacant. It'd been vacant for a month, right? So they had paid that mortgage that month, and they were not stoked about it. They had some low credit score people apply for it. They met with them, amazing. They were this and that, like just need a chance, just super, just amazing people, and then screwed them over. It's you know what I mean? It's like, in that situation, it's like, I understand, dude. Like, you have a 520 credit score because medical bills and this thing and this insurance bullshit and whatever. But it's like, dude, I'm sorry. Like, if I play by the rules, nobody ever burns me. If I go outside the rules, like, I get burned. So, like, I'm just gonna say no because you got a 520 credit score. Yeah, Kevin, that's an amazing analogy, I think.
Yeah, because you see all those people that took a chance on those type of people during the pandemic, and then they're like 7 months with no rent. I'm like, nope, I am good. My strategy has worked so far. I have not gone burnt. I'm gonna keep to it.
I mean, and
It's not foolproof, but it's less likely.
yeah, right. I remember a long time ago, one of my bosses had owned. How did this fucking thing go down? Owned a duplex or some shit. I don't remember how this whole thing went down, but was selling and moving into a new thing, condo close to the airport because he traveled, right? He's a regional, so he traveled all the time. So he's getting this condo, didn't have to mow the lawn next to the airport. And then the sale of the other one fell through. His old one fell through, but he'd already bought his new place. So he decided he's going to rent out his old place. And this was a long time ago. I remember being like, oh man, like that's stressful. And like, I can't imagine doing that with my job, let alone your job. Da, 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 da. And he said something that I thought was very, very interesting to me. And his name was Tony, and Tony taught me more stuff. I mean, I got mad respect for all the stuff Tony taught me. But he said, if you think about it, being a tenant or a landlord is just a hiring decision. Which tenants do you want to hire? And you have the cheat code, which is like what you just said, the application and the credit score. Like, all I gotta do is make good hiring decisions, and I'll be just fine. I don't got to worry about anything. And I was like, and in that moment, I was kind of like, oh damn, like that analogy turned, that particular business from something that I'd never, ever want to get into, a simple hiring decision. Like, and then in that moment, I was like, shit, I should get some rental properties. I can hire. I know how to hire. I can make good hiring decisions.
Exactly. And it's funny when I talk to people that like first time home buyers, I always tell them, in my opinion, get a rental property. That's just my opinion. At least get it for a year. You get a rental property out of the way at 3.5% interest rate, especially with a lot of programs, you're golden. Then get yourself a single family. But every single time they're like, I don't want to deal with tenants. I don't want to deal with tenants. Or I don't want to get burned. And it's like, as long as you, like in your case, hire right, or like do right, it's very unlikely you're gonna get burned. Because people don't just sit there putting cement in your, pipes and all that stuff. People don't do that when you hire right. Now, if you hire people off the streets, like my parents used to do, where they had a bad experience owning a rental property, like, hey, you wanna rent? And they don't pay, they get in fist fights with your parents. Like, that's the type of people you're gonna attract if you just grab anyone off the street. But like you said, with hiring, you hire right, you should be golden.
Yeah, it goes back to what I was saying about desperation. Like if I remember the story correctly, when my parents let those people rent the house that ended up burning them with the low credit scores, they were low key desperate. Like I know they had paid the mortgage for a month, and it may have been more than a month. To where they were just like, I just want somebody, and these people were great, right? When you're desperate, like you overlook so many red flags because you just want to solve the problem, and in turn give yourself how many more fucking problems? Like it was way worse. I promise it was way worse having those people in there. You know what I mean? They signed a 12-month lease and moved out at 6 months and flipped the bird and left the place a fucking wreck. Like, oh, we thought we signed a 6 month. You know what I mean? And they knew that, like, were they going to go to small claims over the, you know? No, they just had to. My parents had to go clean the place for days and days and days on end. And I felt bad at that point in time because I told my mom, I'm like, just let me come to, like, I don't even have to talk. Just let me sit next to you while you talk to these people that you want to rent to. Like, I'll know if they're bullshitters. Like, good at this shit. But I was, the jump off was still very, very early. Like I may have had like an employee or two, but like I was still doing everything. So it's like, I couldn't get away to go do it. And she still had a job too. So she was doing it on the weekends. So like my weekends were shot. So I really do wish I could have helped out more in that situation, but there was just no time.
Well, if you
And-
ever get into it, feel free to reach out. I can tell you my like filtering ways.
Yeah, I would
get
love
better
to, because it's gonna get sorry, I didn't mean to start like that. There's a point in a successful entrepreneur's life where you can only diversify into fucking like stocks and bonds, like so much to where it's like you have to diversify, dude, and it needs to go to real estate. And you got to make the decision whether you want to go residential or commercial, and like, right, it all depends on how much money you have and how successful you are. But with all intents and purposes, like I plan on being there, you know, eventually. I don't know when, but it's like, yeah, I want to have the hard decisions where it's like we got to decide, you know, to go buy some weird fucking thing because, you know, so good. Those are all good problems to have.
Do
Years
you
away.
guys hire people that don't have a social, like if they have an I-10 or they're not legally registered or whatnot? Or do you only hire if they have a social?
Ask it one more time.
So if you have people that apply that don't have a social, if they just have the I-10, do you hire?
That's equivalent of a green card. I'm not totally sure what that means.
Do you hire people that don't have a social? I guess would be my question.
I've never been in that situation, so I don't have any expertise on it. I'm not fully sure. Would I hire, like, are you talking about an immigrant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being in California, there's a lot more of those people out here than you probably have seen out there.
Yeah, we don't have. Yeah. Louisiana is not. Louisiana is very diverse, but not in anywhere there's immigrants. Not nearly at all. There is some, but like not like California. I lived in California for 5 years. So so the way I would handle that is, I mean, you're in California, so it's like I have to just leave with like,
Don't do it. You have
Check.
insurance, all that
yeah,
stuff.
just check
don't do
into
it.
like
So
all
I
the
never
weird-
did it, but I worked for a company that did, and I can tell, dude, I was in a freaking box truck driving on a throughway, and I had 3 illegal freaking Cubans in the back of my freaking box truck going to do this college job, and the freaking wheel falls off the freaking truck like as I'm driving it. It was a dually, so I didn't even know I was riding on a freaking like rims and stuff like that for like a quarter mile. They're freaking banging on the freaking shit, dude. It was insane. It was absolutely insane. And I ended up quitting after that shortly. I was done.
Oh my God.
Half the crew didn't speak English. It's just like, no, I'm in Buffalo, New York. Like it's just
Okay.
like, it was ridiculous. It was wild. But
Yeah,
no,
so-
the amount of liability that you could have is just ridiculous.
Yeah, so that's what I would make sure. So like let's just I'm gonna fake answer the question as like there's no red tape, or the red tape's all good, right? So
Mhm.
would I hire an immigrant that doesn't have a social yet? Hell yes, as long as all that red tape is removed. And I'm going to tell you why, and it has nothing to do with immigrants, but it kind of like is similar. It's related. It rhymes. Okay, so when
Mhm.
I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah, I left when I was 20 because I wanted to get the fuck out of Salt Lake City, Utah. And what I noticed as I bounced around the country working for Journeys, right? So I worked for this shoe store and they moved me all over the country. But what I noticed was I tended to hire people that weren't from the place I was from. Like, so I lived in California and I'd hire a guy from Michigan. Like, I'd interview this guy and love him and hire him. And like, there, it was true. It was true. One time said something about it. Like, do you notice that we always like the guys that are not the people that are not from here or whatever? And I was like, that's fucking weird. I really do. I really do hire people not from wherever I am. And like, I didn't love California. I definitely love South Dakota. I lived in South Dakota, like lived practically in Idaho. I didn't like that there. You know what I mean? I kind of like New Orleans, but like I would meet somebody that's from somewhere different and like instantly like them. Dude, it's fucking hard to move from where you're from. Like, only a certain type of people have the fortitude to move away from where they're from, go make new friends, you know, make a new life for themselves. Like, it's just generally speaking, this is totally my theory, but that's hard. And so you go have an applicant that has gone through all of that, that has the fortitude to press on through all of that. I've always had badass luck with them. You know what I mean? So to leave your country to go somewhere that speaks an entire different language, if I can safely hire that person to where, and to be clear, for me, English would have to be no issue. Like, it has to be fluent English because I'm so high touch and I'm such a people person. Like, the customers are all I fucking think about, right? So they have to have great service, and in order to have great service, they have to have high communication. So there has to be a high communication ability between the delivery driver running the crew and the client. So that has to exist. But all that said, hell yes, I would. I just have no experience with any of the legalities of it all.
Gotcha.
Are you in Southern California?
Central. We're the ag capital of the world, pretty much. We produce most of the world's food here. So it's a lot of farming out here, you know, a lot of seasonal
Where are you? What
pickers and
city?
things.
I know California well. What city?
Visalia. So I'm pretty
Oh,
near
okay.
Fresno. Everyone knows Fresno. Yeah.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, I know right where you are. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have a high Hispanic population probably as a clientele.
Yeah.
Yeah, so bilingual is like huge plus, right? Because I mean, I remember being in California, especially on Sundays, right? Because it's family day. So if I hired somebody that spoke Spanish, I would be like, I need to let you know, like, I need you every Sunday. Like, every Sunday, I need you every Sunday. Like, every Sunday. Like, I understand it's family day. I need you every Sunday. Like, come on. Right. So they could be on the floor and say hola, and boom, the sales just explode from that. So it's like, same thing where if you can have that bilingual if you have that bilingual employee that can show up and say hola instead of hello, and then ask where the bounce house goes in Spanish, like, instantaneously you're going to have better word of mouth, better reviews. Like, I know exactly how that whole game works, man. Like, I'm
Yeah,
finally
that
learning
would be
Spanish
good.
right now. Like, I was so fucking pissed at myself I didn't know Spanish when I lived in California, because I'm like, dude, I know exactly that one word, hola, like, just opens the door. And then immediately, like, right, because you have to put yourself in their shoes. Like, they left their country where they don't, right? So if you speak their
Mhm.
language, it's huge. So yeah. I think it's
I
something
took
that
a
I
few
would
years
look.
in high school, but yeah, I'm like a special ed person if I try to speak it because I'm like so slow. I have to pause and really think about what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like-
I think it would be great having someone bilingual for sure. Unfortunately,
it's-
I'm not good with Spanish.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, I can still sell shoes in Spanish. Like it's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad. But I had hired a kid a long time ago. I was like 20. I hired a kid named Josh, and Josh was bilingual. And he's an amazing kid. I love Josh. So shout out to you, Josh, if you're back in Salt Lake, wherever the hell you are. I was friends with his mom, not friends with his mom, but like his mom would make tamales and bring them to the store because she knew I loved tamales. But Josh taught me like conversational shoe selling Spanish, like one word, like I could say, porquito. I could say all the right words where I could like fumble my way through a shoe sale in Spanish. Because I used to run a Journey store that was like, I mean, the clientele at that store had to have been 85% Spanish speaking only. Like,
Yeah, can I jump in on this conversation? So this is Maurice. So I have the Triple M Party Rentals, which is the outside business, and I have the inside business as well, which is the Fun Spot by Triple M, right? So we right now I don't have any employees, but I do have contractors. And I know some of you guys may joke with me about that, but that's where we at right now. We're getting there. So, and one of my, I guess, employee contractors, she is Spanish. She is a document. She's first generation. So she has a social security card, everything. And she had been doing wonders for my business. And then, so she asked me, she has a friend, can her friend come work? Her friend is undocumented, but doesn't have a social security card, but does have like the her green card, stuff like that. So she does have documents in the United States. And so she's been working with me now for like 4 months, and they've been blowing it up. I mean, and teaching me things that they do, in their culture. Now, I'm from Washington, D.C., so we had a mixed culture bag here anyway. So I grew up with Spanish, Puerto Rican, and hodgepodge, everybody, right? But things that they do in their parties has actually helped me in my business and has grown my Spanish customers. And like you said, Nick, when there's a mom come up with she.
You got it? Yeah, we still lost you. Can't hear you. Oh, we lost. Can you hear us? Maurice, can you hear us? You're muted. See if I can. I can't. I don't know if I. Yeah. Unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Gotcha.
Now? Okay. So I'm sorry. Had a call come in. So her mom, the parents from probably from another country, and the kids was born here. Well, the kids translate for the mom. So now my worker, she talks to them in Spanish, and the transaction goes so much faster and quicker. And so they're not at the desk waiting to fill out a waiver to get in. And the when you tell them a price, for some reason they look at us a little different when it comes to, they think you're trying to get over. But when it's something of their culture, and I understand it, right? When it's somebody of their culture and telling them, hey, this is what it is, and it's actually a legit price, they don't mind paying for it right then and there. Like they just like, here. But if I come up, and they love me now because I've actually catered to them. I've actually added stuff in there that they like foosball. They love foosball. So I've added a foosball game into my center. So I think if we do different things like that to include other cultures, will help our business. Don't be afraid of hiring somebody that's not in your culture. Everybody is different, right? So I've had people in my culture who literally suck. I'm like, okay, I shouldn't have hired you. Like, you gotta get out now. Bye. Call security to get them out of here because they just there for some money and they're not doing any work. So don't be afraid. Take chances. Everybody is different. You may get somebody who wants to work, and you may get somebody who just want to sit there and milk you, and take all your money and not do anything. So that's what I think about it. But don't be afraid to step out there.
Yeah, 100% agree. Where it's like, right, everybody has. I mean, I moved from very, very Caucasian places, right, and I was in like little Richville of where I lived in California, so it was predominantly Caucasian. Then I moved to New Orleans, right, having grown up in Salt Lake City, and so it was culture shock to a degree for me. But I really like people. I really like people. So, but it took me a minute to kind of understand the African American culture down here, like the Southern, like it was just something I'd never been around. But then once I got it, I realized really quickly, like there were certain cities where I could step on the sales floor and I could greet a customer and they didn't want to talk to me. And then my employee greets a customer and it's like a 5-pair sale. You know what I mean? But because it's exactly what you're talking about. It's just like, that people like their own people, man. And so the more diverse you can be, the more you can
just learning holidays, like talking to a Spanish couple, and they're talking about their teenage daughter, but like, oh, is it a quinceañera? Just saying that word, like, oh, you know our culture, you know us, like happy Eid, because you have a whole bunch of Muslim people freaking ordering for their 20 kids. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Just all you gotta do is say it's all at the same time, and you just say a happy Eid. It's their holiday. Now you're respecting their culture, knowing these things. There's what the heck is there's a Jewish one that's a really big one too. I can't think of it. It's their Halloween. Huh?
Never mind. It's like a bar mitzvah.
Oh yeah, there's bar mitzvahs, but there's a Jewish their Halloween. It's not really Halloween, but I can't think what it's called. Looking it up right now. But that's a really big one. If you actually, like, you know what I mean? If you market the difference, because everybody talks about churches, but who here goes towards mosques? There's a shit ton of mosques in New York and stuff where I'm at, like in temples and all that stuff. Like, it's just you gotta speak the language and understand the culture.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm big on hiring diverse, but I'm also big on hiring the right person for the job. And what I mean by that, I'm gonna tell a funny story about that. So back in the day, this is whatever, dude, probably 10 years ago, 8 years ago. I would come home and tell my wife stories, like work stories, like here's what I did today, here's what I was talking to today, or it never gets to happen in fucking like Charles, whatever. And one day she like interrupts me. She's like, am I crazy or do you only hire lesbians to like be your store managers? I'm like, what? I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, no. Run me down like your store managers. And I'm like, and I start naming them and I'm like, wow, I really do. She's like, dude, like lesbians? Like, what's the deal? Like, I'm like, dude, I just hire the fucking right person for the job. Like, I literally don't give a shit. And so, but ever since then, like I had like, right, because she put it in my conscience. So I would watch it ebb and flow and go heavy women dominated crew I'd have, heavy men dominated crew I'd have. And then it would swing like rather all of a sudden be like 5 lesbian store manager, and then it would slowly change. And then there was one year to the sales meeting. So to the sales meeting, the managers that win the awards get to go. And so we're up taking like a picture at this party. We're at this van sponsor party. We're taking this picture. And my buddy from California, he's like, bro, that's crazy. Like, you're the only white guy here from your district. I'm like, what? He's like, literally, you're the only white person from your district. I'm like, and I looked around, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even fucking notice. Like, it just kind of fucking ebbs and flows. Like the culture, like we were talking about earlier, like the culture kind of moves, like the diversity kind of moves. But like, not to be lame and take it back to the subject of the show, but like, you go do a good interview and hire the right person for the job. Like, it doesn't matter. Trends will emerge as they emerge. But like, I don't care who I hire from any sort of standpoint, from gender, race, religion, whatever. I'm hiring those core values, dude. Those core values are everything, and the rest it kind of ebbs and flows as we go, and it's interesting to see how.
Hey, I got an off question. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, go ahead, Bruce.
How much did you guys run out your concession supplies for, like popcorn and cotton candy?
That's a Justin question. I don't have any of those.
I rent all my machines out for $100, and I give them enough servings for 50, and then I do additional servings for 25. But it's weird because if you book through the website, it does that naturally. Sometimes what I also have it in my system where it like costs like $20 per item. So if you want to just book, like actually just pay for like 50 cones or something like that, it costs you like $20. And I do it that way as well, because sometimes people just come in there just for the concession machines. So like when you do that, they add a bunch to their cart and actually ends up being a little bit more. So I've had that happen a lot because they don't read that it comes with it. They just get a whole bunch of extra stuff, and then sometimes they give it back, sometimes they don't. I don't really care because I'm just trying to make money.
Right, makes sense. Got it. So at least, okay. So the popcorn, cotton candy, at least $100. And then if you supplies, extra 50.
Well, it comes with 50 servings.
It come with 50 servers for 100. Okay.
And then each $20 it could give you like 25 servings.
Gotcha. Okay.
And it all depends which one it is. Like the cotton candy machine, it's actually a little bit more because those only come in servings of 50.
Yeah.
But I can do servings of 25 with the other ones.
Okay. Gotcha. Makes sense. Okay.
And then pro tip, have all your shit pre-bagged in 25s. So all you gotta do is just grab and go, and nobody's counting with their grubby little fingers on your bags and cones, and they get them all dirty.
No, that makes absolutely sense. Yeah. No, absolutely.
All right, let's see. I'm gonna see if I can answer some older questions, but I want to make sure everybody's that asked them is still here. So let's see. Just Bounce, yes. Okay. Year 2, started with 3 units. Now we have 12 with tables and chairs and yard games. We're gonna start paying ourselves. We have $5,000 left to pay on the credit card. So my answer to that will be pay the freaking credit card before you basically do anything. Because I'm assuming you have another job already, because there's no way you're living off of not paying yourself for the bounce house business. So I'm sure you have jobs. So I'm going to assume that. So pay the credit card down completely before you take any money from the business, for sure. And then if you don't hate your job or jobs as a couple, if there's 2 of you, then I would keep investing in the business and keep paying yourself 0 while you don't need it. It can only go on for, I'm going to give you 2 pieces of advice on this. Number 1, it can only go on for so long, so don't do it for too long. And number 2, don't tell any war stories about it, because nobody gives a fuck. That's the entrepreneur. It's the entrepreneur mistake where you're like, I don't fucking take a dollar. Like, nobody fucking cares. Okay.
Most people did that.
And we all did it, right? We all thought we were the holy God's gift to entrepreneurship. Just like I'm giving you that advice out of mistake. The only time that piece of your narrative matters is if you're mega successful and start other businesses and have a $5 million exit in some app you start. Like that's the only time that whole fucking story matters. Like, just don't worry about it. Don't talk about it. Just don't worry about it. But that being said, just you need to know what your goals are. Like, do you want to make a nice little nest egg business that can pay for your daughter's college tuition and that's it? Cool. Just like never pay yourself because you're going to pay the college tuition. Do you want to take over the entire universe like me? Absolutely. Cool. That means you need to scale the shit out of it. So the longer you can hold your breath at your shitty job, to put back into inventory so you can scale and grow, the better. So it's a very situational answer. Do you want to add any context to it?
Yeah, I just so right now I'm a manager, dispatch manager, so I'm trying to get it to where I can work. I want to work both of them, but I want to be less hands-on. You know, right now it's just me, and then I have like a little nephew that I take with me when I get seven or more rentals. But like I could do 6 by myself, but I want to get like less hands-on. I'm trying to.
It's a slippery, less hands-on is a slippery slope. So how do I tell this story briefly? I was going to be a real estate agent. Long story short. And so the jump off started to scale in 2020 because I had done the right things, marketing wise and customer wise, whatever. And I'd hired the right guy. And so I was going to pass basically everything off to him. He was going to stay kind of like cute little side hustle size while I went to go be a real estate agent. Well, turns out I don't really like the majority of real estate agents. And as a real estate agent, all you do is deal with real estate agents. So that didn't work out very well, right? So then I came back into business. So I had to kind of kick him out because I was paying him a lot of money off because so I was going to do what you're talking about. It's way harder than you think to scale a business without you being hands-on because you're the magic that makes it happen. Like you're what makes it go and what makes it grow. And, unless your nephew is like, specially gifted as an entrepreneur, then you need to hang on to him and you're doing the right thing. But that's kind of a rarity. It's hard to do, man. It's really hard to do.
That's why I like this this video, the seminar you did today about hiring folks. I want to, because he can't drive the truck with the trailer on it yet. I'm like, I need to find somebody that can drive a trailer and go out here and do all these things.
It's just
and then
expensive. I mean, it's just like the profits are really far away. Yourself is really far away when you start factoring in a driver and the commercial insurance to cover. Like it's hard to do it that way. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Hey Maurice, your mic's cutting in and out.
Oh, thank you.
All right, I'm gonna roll.
You see those pictures I dropped the new Sun Fun inflatable?
Oh no, I didn't.
I got some drone shots in there too.
I feel like I should have got the fucking double in, bro.
I'll talk to you after.
All right. All right.
It's solid, but there's I caught some mistakes in the manufacturer and they're gonna be fixing some stuff. So
Interesting. Yes, would love to have an off-camera comment. Yeah, you're gonna call me tomorrow. Anyway. All right. Next question from Donovan. Because I know Donovan, you're in here too. So 6 units. I want to invest in smaller units to make money, such as popcorn, movie theater, tables, chairs, etc. What do you suggest I get first? So my answer is going to be fucking weird on this. Tables, chairs, leave it alone. The reason I say that is because, in my opinion, the explanation that Justin gave to Maurice about the cups and all that you charge, like that to me wears me out. Like I'd rather just invest in another inflatable that I know I can predict how much money it's going to make. And then tables and chairs, they do not make me very much money. However, they're super easy and almost zero maintenance. So I like to add those. That's my 2 cents. There's a lot of people that tell me I'm missing out on driving my ticket size up because I don't have the add-ons of concessions. But I prefer the speed and simplicity over the add-ons. But I've always been that way.
I like that you get schools from that stuff. I drop those things off at call centers all the time. Drop all kinds of like just concession machines at a call center. There you go. You can actually do a bunch of games at call centers too. It's definitely like that's something that I don't hear anybody talk about. It's like renting to call centers.
Yeah, I mean it's I don't want to call it niche, but it's kind of like if you're doing backyard, the concessions just come with a headache that I would rather avoid and be right. I'd rather my average ticket be 330 than 350, but we do that 330 with like ease and pride. Like to just kind of be fully transparent here. My guys like love what they do. They like tell jokes. It's mostly Trevor that says this, but they like tell jokes that they don't even work. Like they're like, bro, we just get to like fucking hang out with you at the warehouse and like you pay us a bunch of money. But like, by the way, we got to go like clean a thing and then a slide's got to go out today. Like we're done work by 12, right? Every truck has a fucking motorized dolly though. Like, right. So it's like the situation is not normal, but like the guys send pictures talking shit and or prideful pictures, excuse me, of their great rolled water slides. They, you know what I mean? Like just stick to inflatables and it's like all fun and games and I can manage it properly from a personnel standpoint to make it grow, just like it won't stop. I just feel like this is gonna be a weird analogy, but it's the same reason I don't want to meditate. Like I'm already fucking happy and I'm already fucking like I'm locked in, dude. I don't want to fuck it up. Like I'm not saying that meditation wouldn't amplify my shit, because it might. Totally might. But like I'm good and I'm happy. Like I don't want to fuck it up. Like I'm just gonna like continue not meditating and like we're gonna go with that. Like I'm just gonna continue not having concessions. And we're just gonna go with that. Like could be a huge mistake. I don't fucking know.
If you're gonna ever do it, you should do it the way I do it. I have one popcorn machine, I have one cotton candy machine, and I have 5 snow cone machines. Because like you can literally, it's so easy to clean. You could throw it. I literally so I dropped in the group because they're like there was a big debate like, oh, I spent $1,000 on a gold medal 1888. I'm like, okay, first of all, you should only spend like $600, maybe 7, if that. And then they're like, because the other one's 4. I'm like, well, I could drop this one off a building. And then there's like 2 people, and then it will still work. And then they're like, there's like 2 or 3 people were like, okay, well, what does that statement mean? Like, what, you know what I mean? And I was like, and then like the one person's like, prove it. So I put the video in the comments of a dude going all the way up, like, you know what I mean, 20 feet in a forklift and then dropping it off, and then freaking like using it beforehand, dropping it off, and using it after.
Jeez.
So there you go. That's why I buy gold medal 1888s, and it's just you just hose them down. The syrups, it's literally all you have to do is have a bunch. One time when you have your cups in, put them all in little bags of freaking 25. You grab the little bag and a little syrup, and it's gonna go. That's it. There's no freaking other tools and stuff like that. You freaking rinse that shit off real quick. $100. Freaking bunch of people love that shit. But that, and then it also adds to my package system. So that's another reason why I do it. But I only do packages with my concession machines with the snow cones, so I can raise that ticket price. And that's what I mean by like if you're gonna uncomplicate it, like that's how I agree with you. I fucking hate concession machines sometimes. But like
everybody does. Everybody does.
like that's why I have one cotton candy machine and one snow cone machine, or one popcorn machine. That's it. Like I'm contemplating on getting a second cotton candy machine because it's not as bad as like a popcorn. I hate popcorn machines more than anything though. Like one popcorn machine, you're fine. But
I don't think the cotton candy is too bad, but I have that easy clean one. Granted, it's expensive,
that's what I'm saying. I have the easy clean too, so the cotton candies really isn't that bad at all. It's just I also don't freaking like it's just annoying. It's just more pieces to clean and all that stuff. To be honest with you, like that's why it's annoying, but it's really not that bad. It's
Justin,
pretty quick.
I haven't used my popcorn machine. How would I go about cleaning it? Or what would be the best?
Don't get all the mechanisms that are electric and all that shit wet, but wipe all the fucking insides down with a rag and stuff like that. It's fucking annoying. Exactly. So it's like that's why
No,
I don't know.
just-
I might just raise the freaking price of my popcorn machine after this.
Yeah, raise it
So I
up.
just wipe with water.
It's a little bit higher, so people just want to do cotton candy more. I barely ever goes out though. Like my popcorn machine, it's paid for itself like 3 times over. though.
Justin,
What'd you say?
I'll be honest. Those packages have been killing it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised. Like right when I put it, I got like 3. Like within like 2
I'm
days.
telling you, the packages
damn,
is what
Justin.
people want. They want to save money. I only like adjust the price very little. Like I looked at like it's like $33 if you get my tables are $3 or my tables are $15 a piece. My chairs are $3 a piece, and my tents $3.99 for a 20 by 20. And I just charge $5.99. If they would have rented it all normal, it would have been like $6.33 or like $6.32. So they're saving $33 by just clicking a button, not fucking arguing with me with like weird counts on chairs, because my guys are always attuned to like, you know what I mean, 6 tables, 48 chairs. They love when they see a package. It's just like quick. You know what I mean? They don't have to count, you know what I mean? Count less. They pull like my stacks of chairs at the shop. I keep them all on 50 for multiple reasons. But you know what I mean? So they just pull 2 chairs off real quick after, you know what I mean? They count the stack, they pull 2 chairs off. So it's really not that bad either. Sometimes people just want 50 chairs, but maybe eventually I'll just add maybe make it 50 chairs so they have the 2 extra. So I'm never pulling off the stack. I might actually experiment with that, but that's why, to be clear, I love teaching and helping everybody out and stuff, because then it gets me to start double thinking and little bit experiments. Honestly, do you guys use what I just said is actually really interesting, and I want to try that out. I'm doing 6 tables, 48 chairs because it's even on each table, but wouldn't it actually be easier for me to not take those 2 chairs off the stacks that are all stacks of 50?
100%.
And honestly, it's just working it out here helps me think like that. I might actually be experimenting with that next.
Yep, that's back in the day when
You
I
wrap it all, right?
Oh, go ahead.
What'd you say, buddy?
I was saying you stack 50, right?
Well, I buy chairs, dollies from Clayton Mover Supply, and I stack them 50 high on those. So I move them in and out of my trucks and through buildings and all that perfectly. And basically, it can go through. It's just 50's the perfect manageable stack. Any more high, it's a little bit more heavier than it needs to be. Anywhere lower, it can always be lower, but it's not just, you know what I mean. The max is 50. The real max is 60, but you don't want to do that shit. Just do 50. It's easier to count. Oh, 2 stacks are 100. You know what I mean? It's stacks of 50. But then white padded chairs only go in 25 because they're thicker.
Yeah, I was gonna say either give them 2 extra or just only do 48. Either give them 2 extra or only do 48 stacks.
Well, if I give them 2 extra, it makes my packages go up in value too, and it's 2 fucking chairs, so I don't really care. I think I might do that. So now they're getting instead of $32, they're getting $38 off.
Yeah, I mean the difference is minimal, bro.
But it's also, I don't know if I want to change it because then what do I do in the situation of do I just keep my other ones where it's all different? Maybe that package I changed to 50, but I have my other package is 8 tables and 64 chairs. So it doesn't save me there. It doesn't really save me there at all. So it's also, you know what I mean?
Slippery slope.
Oh no, dude, I bust out packages like crazy. And then I have a package for a 25. And this is the craziest thing. The packages shit works. And I love tiered pricing and doing things like this, because it's just okay. If a lot of people, this is the real name of the game. Just have people hit your site, you look professional, and book with you right then and there. Boom. Don't even have to look at anybody else. So they don't know what the fuck prices are. So when they see that a tent is $3.99 and then a 20 by 30 is $4.99, they don't really know that everywhere else it's only a $25 increase. Or my 20 by 40 is $5.99. Or everybody else is booked out around here, so they're no matter what, they're there's no tents in Buffalo. I need to double up on my inventory. There's 10 companies going out. It's fucking insane. Like I could just, if I wanted to really just focus on a tent company, I could probably be like killing it even more in the bounce houses, to be honest with you. Like
From what I hear, happier too. Everybody says you're happier. But hey, so Jacob and Erica said that their dog and their son made them miss your tips on how you do your snow cone machine. So can you re-up on how you do your snow cone machine?
So when I do my snow cone machine, I rent it out for $100, and then I give them 2 flavors because each flavor comes with like 25 servings, and I give them 50 cups. And I have a bunch of bags of 25 cups in my warehouse, and then a bunch of those bottles. They're all 25 servings, and for an additional $20, I sell you the cups in the bag. And then I also on my website have it so it's you buy those bags individually for $20, because when people are just shopping for concession machines, they basically hit it that way and they'll actually spend more money. They don't see it on the back end, so it's a way you can set it up, but your system.
Boom,
But that's
there
how
you
I do my cotton, and then I also add them to all my packages. So like I have a lot of snow cones going in there because those are the easiest to clean. And they're like pretty much indestructible.
Cool. All right. There we go. All right. Other questions on hiring, or I guess we're this late in the show, like miscellaneous weird shit.
When we start talking about firing, is that one of the other 4?
No, I guess we should do 5. I did 4 though because that takes us up to 4th of July, and then my ass goes on
God,
vacation.
it's that close.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Exactly.
year is flying by, man.
Yeah. So then post 4th of July, I go on 3 vacations, and I'll be back from vacation 3, I think, on August 4th. Like it's like July, post 4th of July is bye time.
I feel like you want to find somebody that's like in your rental business. You want to find somebody that actually has the mentality. There's people that are forgetful. Forgetful people in this business suck.
Oh yeah.
Like, but my manager, he's like on point. He reminds me shit that I forget all the time. Like, oh yeah, by the way, this. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. He reminded me today that there's popcorn machine goes out this weekend and I don't have popcorn. And I didn't do it still, but I remembered because he reminded me. I don't remember me not remembering. I remember him reminding me. Like,
Yeah.
like he's on. Like I love that shit.
Like, yeah. Once you hire the right people, like it takes one. Like you hire the right one, like your life changes to such a degree from having idiots to having one where you're like, why could they all be like this, right? But this is gonna be my closing statement. Let me have my closing statement. Donovan, where do you snow cone machine? Oh, Justin, where'd you buy your snow cone machine?
Gold medal, but you can find a dealer by you and get them cheaper. Don't buy from Gold Medal direct because they'll be
Gold
more
Medal.
expensive. Unless you're buying at the trade shows, they sell them for like $500 at like trade shows.
Okay, boom. There you go, Donovan. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna close the show out. Here's my
500.
closing. Well, go ahead, Kevin. What?
I was gonna say, where are you getting those Snow Kings for 500?
At trade shows,
I got mine.
IAPA and stuff like that. But I think they're probably up to like 550, 600 at trade shows now, maybe 550. But I remember I think it was buy 2 and you can get them for $500 was the last
Snow
deal.
Kings are the blue ones, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I got mine for 600 at Sam's.
Yeah, you can get them for like, you can get them cheap from like online and stuff like 6 too. A dealer could have them too, honestly. Like sometimes it all depends. You should make friends with your dealer because they'll sell you all the shit too. It sucks because the dealer here in Buffalo got bought out. Or like basically they were done and sold out. So they sold out to this other candy place over here. And like they're just like freaking price Nazis, and they just like do full markup. Like they sell what Gold Medal sells it for, and that's it. They don't do any price negotiations or anything like that. And then it's like I won't even buy sugar for them. So I actually save money buying all my supplies from an hour over in Rochester and having it shipped than actually buying local now. So
Well, my local is like 2.5 hours away. Not really local.
for your dealer, for your rep, yeah. So I would, yeah, $600 online. You could find them. I would fucking do it now because I know for a fact if you could even find one this time of year. It's kind of one of those seasonal things, like where it's like, you know what I mean. They only have so much for like the beginning of the season, and then you don't really pump out a shit more of them because they you know what I mean. They'll just be sitting on stock.
I wonder what my employees would say if I.
Yeah, because I'm afraid they're gonna run out. But sorry, Nick. Go ahead.
Oh, you're good. I was just wondering what my employees would say if I was like, yeah, we got a snow cone machine. We're gonna fucking push it hard. I feel like they'd be pissed at me.
Nick's definitely getting one this week.
Just to spite them. All right. Anyway, so yeah. So all right, here we go. I'm gonna close the show out. This is an amazing episode. I love talking about interviewing and team building and hiring and everything. So I'm gonna close the show out like this. So your life as an entrepreneur who does everything themselves is super hard, dude. Like it's super hard. Like it sucks. It's great. Like it's blissful. It's fun because like you're building something and it's amazing, but you can only go for so long. Your life as an entrepreneur that hired a bonehead, I promise you, is 1,000 times worse. Your life as an entrepreneur with hiring somebody who's good, you just can't even explain it. Like Justin was just talking about, they remind you of shit. They keep you on point. Like you have so much going on. You have got to make sure that the people you're bringing on bring value to you and to the company, not the other way around. The only way to do that, in my opinion, and I've been doing this a long time and I've done it a bazillion times, is the interview. The only way to do it is the interview. So please take some time to get yourself better at interviews. And there we go. There we go. Not a very big closing rant, but there we go. That's it. So for everybody watching at home, don't hit subscribe and be shy about it. All right. Everybody else that's live right now, you guys are awesome. Thank you guys for coming. That was a good show. Love it. There we go. Everybody, peace out.
Good night.
Peace.
Laters.
Thanks, Nick.